Chapter 71. Gu Tianfeng directly admitted defeat, and the raw jade stone he chose was meaningless. Qian Duo announced that Qin Haodong won the bet. This also meant that Feng Tianda not only didn't get Damao and Ermao, but also lost 30 million. Unexpectedly, Zhou Cuizui didn't make a scene this time. Instead, she gave Qin Haodong a hateful look and left. Feng Tianda didn't say much and left the scene. At this time, a middle-aged man in a famous suit came to Qin Haodong and said, "Young man, I'm the general manager of Deshang Jewelry. I want to ask you if you want to sell this king green jade? I'm willing to pay 100 million for it." There was another uproar in the crowd. Just now Qian Duo said that this king green jade was worth 100 million. Now someone directly paid for it, which made many people feel complicated, full of envy, jealousy and hatred. Someone said, "Young man, sell it. 100 million is a lot." That's right. Things bought for thousands of yuan can be sold for 100 million. Robbing money is not so fast. The little fellow was playing happily with the king green jade. When she heard someone wanted to buy it, she quickly cried, No. This is Tang Tang's little ball." Qin Haodong smiled at the middle-aged man and said, "I'm sorry, my daughter likes it. Let her play with it. I have no intention of selling it for the time being." After he said this, many people's hearts collapsed. They had seen people spoiling their children, but they had never seen such a spoiling child. Even the richest man in the world would not give the king green jade worth 100 million to his child as a glass ball. The middle-aged man was also confused. He calmed down and asked, "Young man, why don't you think about it again? If the price is not right, we can discuss it." "Don't think about it. No amount of money can buy my daughter's happiness. If she likes to play with glass balls, let her play with it." The middle-aged man was speechless. Damn it, was this a glass ball? This was the glass king green jade worth more than 100 million yuan. Although many people didn't agree with Qin Haodong's approach, it belonged to him. He could play with it as he liked. It had nothing to do with them if it was broken. When everyone was indignant, the king green jade slipped out of the little fellow's hand. It happened so suddenly that Qin Haodong had no time to react. There was a burst of exclamation in the crowd. That was 100 million yuan. It was gone. What a waste. What a wastrel. Suddenly, a white shadow flashed and Damao jumped over. He opened his mouth and caught the falling king green jadeite. Then he lay on Qin Haodong's leg with a proud expression. The little fellow giggled. "Fun. This is so fun. Damao, you're great." "Not bad, I'll give you bones to eat when we get back." Qin Haodong patted Damao's head and took the wet king green jade from its mouth. He wiped it clean and threw it to the little fellow again. Heavens, he actually gave it to a child to play with. Was he really not afraid of breaking it? Did he really not care about 100 million? Looking at Qin Haodong's casual look, if they hadn't just seen the whole process of the jade being cut out, they would really think that it was just a glass ball instead of an imperial green jade worth over 100 million yuan. At this time, the middle-aged man saw Damao and Ermao. The reason why Qin Haodong could win 3 games in a row and finally get an imperial green jade was because of these 2 dogs. Since the jade was not for sale, he could buy his dogs. As long as he had these 2 dogs who could choose the raw stone, he could get any kind of jade in the future. They were not dogs. They were simply money trees, treasure bowls, and fortune cats. Thinking of this, he said excitedly, "Little brother, do you sell these 2 dogs? As long as you ask, I will never bargain." His words reminded others, and someone followed and shouted, "Yes, little brother, you can sell me one. I'll pay 50 million. Little brother, I'll pay 60 million, 70 million. Qin Haodong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Originally, he just wanted to use Damao and Ermao as a camouflage to cover up his ability to see through the raw stone of jade. He didn't expect that the value of these 2 little things would soar. In the blink of an eye, they were worth more than 100 million yuan. "Damao and Ermao are my friends. I won't sell them. I won't sell them." The little fellow protested hard. Qin Haodong said loudly, "Did you hear that? My daughter said she won't sell them. No matter how much you pay, she won't sell them." There was a burst of regret in the crowd. Many people shook their heads again and again. This young man spoiled his children too much. He played with the imperial green jade as a glass ball and led 2 dogs worth more than 100 million yuan. Was this really good? The matter had been dealt with. After saying goodbye to Qian Duo, Qin Haodong left the raw stone exhibition with Nalan Wushuang and the little fellow. Today's purpose had been successfully completed. Although there were still some raw stones left in the D area, the high-premium raw stones had been excavated through these gambling games, and there were no good things left. At this point, The fine raw stones of the entire Feng's exhibition had entered Qin Haodong's warehouse. It was difficult to find raw stones more than 3 times the premium here. After getting in the car, Nalan Wushuang said, "Haodong, that ugly woman left so quietly. I always feel that it's not normal. Do you think she will do something?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "That's for sure. Don't you see what we have now? We have 130 million yuan in cash, an imperial green jade worth more than 100 million yuan, plus 2 dogs that can find treasures. Feng Tianda doesn't dare to provoke your Nalan family, but the Jade Gang won't. I guess it won't be long before they come to us. What should we do? Shall I find some people to help?" Nalan Wushuang said with a little nervousness. "Don't worry, I've arranged it. As long as they dare to come, I will give them a surprise," Qin Haodong said as he started the car and drove forward at a moderate speed. In a secret room of the Feng family, Zhou Cuizue said to the one-eyed dragon Meng Gang, "Hurry up and take people to rob that guy. You must get the 2 dogs back for me and get the King Green Jade back for me." Feng Tianda quickly said, "Honey, don't be impulsive. That guy is easy to deal with, but the woman next to him is the eldest daughter of the Nalan family. We can't afford to offend the Nalan family." "Useless thing." Zhou Cuizue glared at him and said, "What's there to be afraid of? You can go to Burma with me. No matter how powerful the Nalan family is, can they be more powerful than our Jade Gang?" Feng Tianda was speechless for a while. This woman was really ignorant. The Nalan family had a deep foundation. How could the Jade Gang compare with them? However, the Feng family now needed to rely on the Jade Gang, so he naturally didn't dare to say anything more. Zhou Cuizue turned to Meng Gang and said, "Go ahead. When that guy runs away, remember not to hurt the 2 dogs. Don't worry, Mississippi. We have so many brothers in the gang. It's very easy to deal with a toy boy." After Meng Gang finished speaking, he left in a hurry with his men. Feng Tianda sighed, but there was no other way. He could only let Zhou Cuizue do it. Qin Haodong drove out of the exhibition center. The little fellow was really tired after running with him for a day. After getting in the car, she fell asleep in Nalan Wushuang's arms. Even Damao and Ermao were napping in the back seat of the car. It was nothing at first, but after the little fellow fell asleep, she habitually put a little fleshy hand on Nalan Wushuang's chest. This was not surprising. She habitually touched Lin Momo's chest when she slept, but now the object was Nalan Wushuang. But Nalan Wushuang was different from Lin Momo. She had never been married or had a child. Her chest had never been touched by anyone except herself. Her cheeks immediately turned red when the little fellow touched it. She looked to the side with a little embarrassment and found that Qin Haodong was concentrating on driving. He didn't notice her side, so she quietly grabbed the little fellow's hand and took it down. Unexpectedly, although the little fellow fell asleep, she was still very stubborn. She struggled to pull her hand out again and still put it there. From time to time she would grab it twice. Nalan Wushuang tried several times but failed. In the end, she could only let the little fellow grab it. Qin Haodong didn't seem to notice, but in fact he saw all this clearly. There was a smile on his lips inadvertently. At the same time, he was very envious of the little fellow. When could he have such treatment? The car drove forward steadily and entered a remote road. Suddenly there was a flash of light in front of them. A black sedan blocked the way in the middle of the road. Then a van drove up from behind and blocked the way out. After the 2 cars parked, a dozen men in black with sharp blades jumped out of the cars. They aggressively surrounded Qin Haodong's car. The leader was Zhou Cuizue's one-eyed man Meng Gang. They came quite fast. Qin Haodong said with a smile. "What should we do?" Nalan Wushuang asked. "You take the little fellow to have a rest in the car. I'll go down and get rid of these guys," Qin Haodong said as he opened the door and calmly got out of the car. The one-eyed man held a 1-meter-long saber in his hand. "A horse." He looked at Qin Haodong and smiled coldly. "Boy, you didn't expect that we would meet again so soon, did you? Tell me, what do you want?" Qin Haodong asked calmly with his hands behind his back. "Hand over the King Green Jade and the 2 dogs, and I can spare your life." Meng Gang's one-eyed man flashed and said, "The little girl in your car, I also like her. Leave her for me." He had always been a lecherous man, but he dared to have the idea of Nalan Wushuang. "Why?" Qin Haodong said. "Because of the saber in my hand and the brothers behind me. If you know what's good for you, you can keep your life. If you don't, I will send you to hell immediately." Qin Haodong still looked calm. "I tell you, this is Wuxia. It's against the law to do this." "Against the law?" Meng Gang laughed arrogantly. "Which one of the brothers behind me hasn't killed a few people? The law is nothing to us." "Don't talk nonsense. If you don't hand over the thing, I will chop you into meat paste immediately. Don't think that we dare not kill people in Wuxia. At most we will go back to Burma. You people, the quality is not good and the number is not large. I don't know who gave you the courage to come to Wuxia and be arrogant. After that, Qin Haodong whistled loudly. Then there was a sound of motors behind him. 6 or 7 green off-road vehicles drove over, and the shining headlights illuminated the night sky. 20 or 30 people jumped out of the off-road vehicles one after another and surrounded Meng Gang and his men. These people were all wearing security uniforms, holding short sticks in their hands. They were agile and quick, and it was obvious that they had extraordinary skills. Meng Gang frowned slightly. He didn't expect that the toy boy in front of him had been prepared and set a trap for him. Chapter 72. After the security guards got out of the car, a 190-meter tall man strode to Qin Haodong and said loudly, "Boss, all 30 security guards of Daddy Security Company are here. Captain Zhang Tiniu has finished reporting." This afternoon, when Qin Haodong went to the Daddy Security Company, he treated all the 50 wounded soldiers that Naylan Wushuang had gathered again. These people naturally joined the Daddy Security Company. Zhang Tiniu, the squad leader who was reporting, was once a prominent figure in the army. His strength was no less than Qin Fugui's. Later he retired early due to injuries. After being cured by Qin Haodong, he became an 8th-class security guard and team leader of Daddy Security Company. After realizing that Zhou Tsue was up to no good, Qin Haodong transferred 30 security guards from the security company. They left the exhibition center and Zhang Tiniu followed them with these people. In fact, he could deal with the one-eyed dragon and the others with his own strength. The reason why he did this was to protect the reputation of Daddy Security Company. Qin Haodong said, "These Burmese came to rob us. Let's teach them a lesson." "Don't worry, boss. These small fries aren't enough." After saying that, Zhang Tiniu turned around and walked toward Meng Gang. In the past, when he carried out missions everywhere, even M-Country's SEAL team and Red Beret were no match for him. How could he take these small figures from the Burmese gang seriously? "Brat, don't say that I'm bullying you with numbers. I'll give you a chance to fight me one-on-one. Bring it on." One-eyed dragon's face darkened. Zhang Tiniu looked tall and strong, but he didn't take him seriously. Height was not the key factor in a fight. Courting death. After a roar, he swung the sword in his hand. Horse, he chopped down at Zhang Tiniu with his saber. This slash was powerful and heavy. If it hit, it would be enough to cut off an arm. Zhang Tiniu coldly stared at the one-eyed dragon's long saber. When it fell, he suddenly shouted and fiercely swung the short stick in his hand. The short sticks of Daddy Security Company were specially customized by Naylan Wushuang and were completely made of fine steel. Slash horse, after the saber and the short stick collided, there was a crisp clang. Meng Gang's perlicue became numb. Horse, the saber flew out with a whoosh. He had never imagined that Zhang Tiniu's strength could be so great. He was defeated in one move. Before he realized it, he had been kicked in the chest by Zhang Tiniu's big foot. Meng Gang let out a muffled groan as he was sent flying by the kick. He fell to the ground with a plop and vomited large mouthfuls of blood, unable to get up again. Qin Haodong nodded slightly. Zhang Tiniu was indeed a promising young man. No wonder Naylan Wushuang appointed him as a level 8 security guard. It seemed that he had a lot of room for improvement in the future. "Brothers, let's show these bastards the power of Hut." Gah! With a loud shout, Zhang Tiniu waved his short stick and rushed towards the rest of the people. The security guards of Daddy Security Company also roared. They used to be excellent soldiers. They finally found a chance to vent after being plagued by injuries and illnesses for such a long time. How could they miss it? They rushed to Meng Gang's men. 2 minutes later, the security guards of Daddy Security Company roared. They were all excellent soldiers. After such a long time, they finally found a chance to vent. How could they miss it? They rushed to Meng Gang's men. 2 minutes later, the battle was over. No one from Daddy Security Company was injured. Meng Gang and his men were firmly tied up. Meng Gang struggled and shouted, "Boy, I'm from the Jade Gang. Let us go or our boss won't spare you." Zhang Tiniu slapped him in the face and said, "How can you be so arrogant? The Jade Gang is nothing in the eyes of our boss." Qin Haodong didn't take the Jade Gang seriously. Since Zhou Tsue dared to make trouble for him, he would teach her a lesson. At the same time, he would use them to make an advertisement for Daddy Security Company. Soon the police were called. As the lights flickered, Naylan Wuxia rushed over with the members of the crime squad, which was also arranged by Qin Haodong. Meng Gang didn't expect that Qin Haodong would call the police. he said angrily. Boy, how dare you call the police? Do you still abide by the rules of Jianghu? Qin Haodong smiled and said, I'm just a law-abiding doctor. I'm not a Jianghu man. Since you're in hut, I'd like to have a taste of prison food. Don't say we're stingy when we go back. Nalan Wuxia came over, looked at Qin Haodong and asked, What's the matter? You're making trouble for me again. Do you think the police are too idle? What are you talking about? This is a big gift for you. Qin Haodong pointed to a dozen people who were tied up tightly and said, These people came to Huaxia with knives to commit murder and robbery. I've caught them for you. The evidence is in the car's driving recorder. You just need to bring them back and you can get a reward. What a good thing. Are you serious? Nalan Wuxia asked doubtfully. Of course. Ask your sister if you don't believe me. Qin Haodong pointed to the car. At this time, Nalan Wuxuang got out of the car, and the little fellow was looking around in a daze. Nalan Wuxia waved her hand and directed her men to take Meng Gang and others to the police car. They were taken back to the crime squad, and then she walked to Nalan Wuxuang. What a beautiful little princess. Although Nalan Wuxia was hot-tempered, she liked children very much. When she saw the little fellow, she immediately liked her very much. She asked Nalan Wuxia, Whose little cutie is this? It's so beautiful. Nalan Wuxia had been to the scene when Dongfeng Liang kidnapped Lin Momo last time, but she was busy handling the case and didn't notice the little fellow at all. She didn't know that she was Lin Momo's daughter. When the little fellow saw Nalan Wuxia, she immediately became energetic. She stretched out her two chubby little hands and cried, Police auntie, hug? Nalan Wuxia happily took the little fellow. The little fellow wriggled restlessly in her arms. Next to her, Qin Haodong smiled again. It seemed that his good daughter had gone to explore for him again. Sure enough, the little fellow said to Qin Haodong, Papa, the police auntie is so beautiful. Can you be my third mother? Nalan Wuxia knew that the little fellow was the adopted daughter that Qin Haodong had mentioned, but she still asked in surprise, Little cutie, why third mother? The little fellow said solemnly, Because I already have mama and second mama. Auntie can only be the third mother. Nalan Wuxia glared at Qin Haodong and said, It's all your teaching. Aren't you afraid of leading a bad child? Qin Haodong said with a little embarrassment, Well, it has nothing to do with me. My daughter is completely self-taught. The little fellow cried, It's not Papa who taught me, but Papa said that I can find 7 mama at most. Well, Qin Haodong was afraid that the little fellow would say something else, so he quickly changed the topic and said, Officer Nalan, there may be a mastermind behind these people. Please investigate it thoroughly. He knew very well that Zhou Cuizui must have sent Meng Gang here. It was better to arrest the ugly woman and put her in prison together. Well, I'll go back now and work on the case as soon as possible. Nalan Wuxia returned the little fellow to Nalan Wuxuang and then left with her people. Zhang Tiniu also returned to Daddy's security company with 30 security guards. After getting in the car, Qin Haodong said to Nalan Wuxuang, Please contact the newspaper reporters about this matter and focus on reporting it. It will definitely make Daddy's security company famous. Don't worry, it's very easy. Nalan Wuxuang understood Qin Haodong's intention and said, In fact, now Daddy's security company has a little reputation in the upper circle. Really? So fast? Qin Haodong asked in surprise. The upper circle of Jiangnan City is not so big, and some news still spread very fast. Nalan Wuxuang said, Last time you took Saber and several people to teach Wei Tianlei of Thor's security company a lesson in Lin's group, and the divine mercenaries became Lin Momo's bodyguard. Then you took Chen Fuguei and others to sweep Lu Huaqiang's Duku Film and Television Culture Company. The two things together have made the upper circle know the existence of Daddy's security company. But before, they only knew that there was a powerful security company, but they didn't know its name. I believe that after today, Daddy's security company will be famous in Jiangnan City. Qin Haodong nodded with satisfaction. This was the effect he wanted. After sending Nalan Wuxuang back, he returned to Lin's villa with the little fellow. Lin Momo, wearing a white home dress, sat in the living room watching TV and waiting for them to come back. After seeing Qin Haodong enter the door, she asked with some dissatisfaction, It's so late. Why did you come back so late? Mama, I went to play with Daddy. Was fun. The little fellow excitedly jumped into Lin Momo's arms and gave the king green in her hand to her. Mama, look at the big glass ball. Lin Momo held the little fellow and kissed her. When she saw the appearance of the king green, she immediately widened her eyes. She was the president of Lin's group and was very good at the jewelry industry. She would not think that it was really a glass ball like ordinary people. This is the king green. She carefully took the king green and said, "Where did it come from?" "It was made from a stone by Papa. Papa is so powerful that he can make a glass ball from a stone," the little fellow said proudly. Although it was not very clear, Lin Momo still guessed it. She looked at Qin Haodong in surprise and said, "Did you cut this stone?" "Yes." Qin Haodong nodded indifferently. "Do you know what this is? Do you know how much it is worth?" Lin Momo asked excitedly. She had been in charge of Lin's group for many years. Although she had seen countless jewelry, she had never seen such a big king green. I know. The little fellow rushed to say, "Mama, someone offered 1 yuan but Papa didn't sell it." Qin Haodong looked at Lin Momo's surprised eyes and said, "Not 1 yuan, 100 million yuan. I'm not very good at jade. Someone said that this is the Ice King Green, and they offered 100 million yuan to buy it. I saw that Tang Tang liked it very much, so I let her play with it. I didn't sell it." Lin Momo was also a little shocked. 100 million yuan, how much was that? As the eldest daughter of Lin's family, she had saved for so many years to have 100 million yuan of private money. Chapter 73. Lin Momo was keenly aware that a lot of things must have happened tonight, but seeing that the little fellow was so sleepy that she rubbed her eyes, she decided to let her sleep first. Soon, they coaxed the little fellow to sleep in the bedroom. Lin Momo pulled Qin Haodong and whispered, "Come with me." They went to the study next door together, and Qin Haodong said with a playful smile, "Mom, why are you looking for me behind my back so late at night?" After that, he glanced at the big bed next to him intentionally or unintentionally. "You're glib and not serious. I have serious business." Lin Momo rolled her eyes at him and said, "What's going on tonight? Tell me quickly." Qin Haodong had known that Lin Momo would definitely ask, so he told her what had happened in the exhibition center today from beginning to end. Lin Momo was surprised. When he finished, she asked, "You said that you bought 100 million yuan of raw jade stones and won consecutive bets with Gu Tianfeng?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course, 100 million yuan has been spent, and the king green jade is also there." "How did you do it?" Lin Momo asked. "What did you say? Don't play dumb. How did you win 3 games in a row? Why is it that every stone you choose has an expensive jadeite in it? You even got a piece of imperial jade? Didn't I tell you that Damao and Ermao were lucky? They helped me choose the stones. Don't lie to me. You also chose a piece of raw jade stone in my venue. What do you say? If you say so, it can only be my good luck. I've long heard that good luck comes with good character. It seems that it's true." Looking at Qin Haodong's smiling face, Lin Momo was so angry that she gritted her teeth, but she had no choice but to believe this explanation. After laughing, Qin Haodong said seriously, "I finished my work. Now I need you to do something." "What do you want me to do?" Lin Momo asked in surprise. "When you go to work tomorrow, let someone spread the news that the stones of the Feng's group are not the old ones from Burma at all, but some fakes." Before Qin Haodong could finish, Lin Momo said, "How is that possible?" "I've sent someone to check it. The stones of the Feng family are indeed of the old pit type from Burma. They are authentic and good. No one will believe it." "What's the rush? I have my reasons for saying that." Qin Haodong said, "No one will believe this rumor alone. But if the Feng's group can't cut out raw jade stones with a premium rate of more than 3 times, what do you think people will think?" "This?" Lin Momo hesitated and said, "Then you should believe it, but how is it possible? If you can choose the imperial green jade from them, others can naturally choose good things with a particularly high premium rate." Qin Haodong gave Lin Momo a meaningful look. "Believe me, the Fengs will never produce good raw stones again. You just need to spread the news. When the guests can't buy good stones from the Fengs, they will naturally return to the Lin's group. At that time the Fengs can only watch." Lin Momo had been in the business world for a long time and was very smart. Otherwise, she would not have become the president of the Lin's group in her 20s. She immediately reacted and exclaimed, "You mean you bought those stones?" Qin Haodong changed his face into a playful smile. "I don't mean anything. You just need to do what I say. I'm sure you can achieve the success of this exhibition and trample on the Fengs." Lin Momo knew that there must be something Qin Haodong didn't tell her, but she didn't ask again. Everyone had secrets. "What about the stones you bought? Where did you put them?" Qin Haodong said, "I put them in the Daddy Security Company. It's the safest place. There must be good things in those stones. Why don't you sell them? Now our Lin's group is short of good materials." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "No, I kept them for the little fellow to pay her tuition." "You?" Lin Momo was angry for a moment. How could the Lin's group not afford the little fellow's tuition? Qin Haodong said, "These stones are not suitable for sale for the time being. Otherwise, it will arouse the suspicion of the Fengs." Lin Momo immediately reacted. If the Lin's group really didn't have raw jade stones with a premium rate of more than 3 times, and the Lin's group continuously had good materials today, it would definitely arouse the Feng's group's suspicion. It was easy for people to associate it with Qin Haodong. In fact, she didn't know that Qin Haodong had another intention. The preliminary value of these raw jade stones should be between 1 billion and 2 billion yuan. If they were given to Lin Momo, she would selflessly give them to the Lin's group based on her character. However, Qin Haodong only had his own woman and the little fellow in his eyes. He had nothing to do with the Lin's group, and it was impossible for him to give such a large amount of wealth away. "I understand. I won't tell anyone about this," Lin Momo said. Qin Haodong took out a few checks from his pocket and gave them to Lin Momo. He said, "Today I transferred 100 million yuan from your card. Here is exactly 100 million yuan. Take it." Lin Momo said, "You've helped our group so much. I don't want the money." After a pause she said, "Don't worry. Those raw jade stones are yours. I won't take any of them." Qin Haodong was secretly amused. This woman had made it so clear to him. The reason why he returned the money to Lin Momo was that he didn't want her to leave a gossip in the Lin's group in the future. "I've said that I borrowed the money. It's easy to return it. Besides, I'm helping you. It has nothing to do with the Lin's group." "All right then." Seeing Qin Haodong's firm attitude, Lin Momo hesitated and took the check. But she said, "That king green jade is too valuable. Take it back quickly. Don't give it to Tang Tang as a toy." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Since Tang Tang likes it, I'll give it to her." Lin Momo waved her hand repeatedly. "No, absolutely not. It's too valuable. You better take it back." "What do I do with it? You know I'm a man. I hate green the most." But Lin Momo still wanted to say something, but she was directly interrupted by Qin Haodong. "No buts. No matter how valuable that thing is, it's just a stone. How can it compare with my daughter? When she's done playing with it, you two can take it to make a set of jewelry. It's useless for me to keep it." Lin Momo hesitated and said, "Still not. If I say yes, then yes." Qin Haodong said as he took 2 steps forward and looked directly into Lin Momo's eyes. "I'm your man. You must listen to me." Lin Momo's cheeks were red. She didn't dare to look directly into Qin Haodong's eyes. She whispered, "Who said you're my man? Isn't it enough for me to say that? It seems that you want me to confirm it." Qin Haodong said as he held Lin Momo in his arms and kissed her heavily. Lin Momo's body stiffened. She wanted to push Qin Haodong away, but when she thought of the scene 4 years ago, she couldn't help but feel hot all over. She couldn't exert any strength in her hands, but she held Qin Haodong's solid back tightly. After kissing for a long time, Qin Haodong picked Lin Momo up and walked to the big bed next to him. Just as he pressed Lin Momo on the bed and was about to confirm that he was her man, the door behind him was suddenly pushed open. "Papa, Mama, don't fight." The little fellow's voice was like a basin of cold water in the middle of winter, instantly extinguishing the burning flames in their bodies. Qin Haodong quickly got up from the bed, and Lin Momo also nervously tidied up her clothes. "Papa, Mama, you can't fight. Don't leave me," the little fellow said as she cried. Her pretty little face was full of sadness and grievance. "Tang Tang, don't cry." Qin Haodong quickly squatted in front of the little fellow and comforted her. "I didn't fight with Mama. Papa is a liar. I saw it clearly. I was fighting with Mama," the little fellow said as she sobbed. "Tang Tang, it really wasn't a fight. Mama was a little uncomfortable just now. Papa is a doctor and is treating Mama. If you don't believe me, you can ask Mama." "Is that so, Mama? Mama?" the little fellow asked Lin Momo very seriously. Lin Momo had tidied up the messy clothes. She glared at Qin Haodong. Thinking that what they had just done was treating, the blush on her face that had just subsided came back again. "Yes, Tang Tang. Mama had a stomachache and Papa was treating Mama." "Is Mama all right now? Do you want Papa to continue to treat Mama?" The little fellow believed the lie made up by the two people. "No, Mama is all right now," Lin Momo said awkwardly. Seeing that it was finally over, Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. He took the little fellow's little hand and said, "Tang Tang, aren't you asleep? Why are you awake again?" "I had a dream. I dreamed that Papa and Mama were fighting, and then they didn't want me anymore. I became a child without Papa and Mama." Speaking of this, the little fellow cried again. Obviously she was very sad. No, Tang Tang, don't cry. Papa and Mama will never leave Tang Tang. Lin Momo and Qin Haodong comforted the little fellow together, which made her stop crying and smile. It was not easy to coax the little fellow to sleep again. Lin Momo said, "It's so late. You better go back to sleep. You know it's so late, but you still want to drive me away. How about I sleep here tonight?" Looking at Lin Momo's curvy figure, Qin Haodong couldn't help but swallow. No, what if Tang Tang wakes up again? We can't always lie to the child. After what had just happened, Lin Momo had a little psychological barrier. Qin Haodong had no choice but to get out of bed. His daughter was good, but sometimes she would also ruin his good things. After kissing the cheeks of the two beauties, he turned around and left the room. As soon as he left the gate of Lin's villa, he saw a black shadow coming from afar before he returned home. The black shadow was very fast and silent, like a ghost in the night. Obviously it was a master. Qin Haodong hid himself and wanted to see what this person did. However, he saw the black shadow directly came to the vicinity of Lin's villa, observed the surrounding situation and jumped in. Chapter 74. Qin Haodong wanted to know the purpose of his coming to Lin's villa. If it had something to do with the previous assassinations, he must find out who was behind the scenes. He followed the black shadow into Lin's villa and closely monitored it with his powerful spirit perception. The black shadow was very agile. According to Qin Haodong's judgment, he should have reached the 8th level of overt power, and he was obviously very good at lightness kung fu. Since the divine mercenaries took over the safety of Lin Momo, there were 2 people on duty outside Lin's villa every night. Today it was Tomahawk and Whip. As members of the mercenary group, Tomahawk and Whip were very experienced. Even so, the black shadow penetrated their defense with exquisite body movement and invisibility and entered Lin's villa quietly. The black shadow lightly climbed to the platform on the 2nd floor, took out a small bamboo tube from his pocket and blew a wisp of white smoke into it. After waiting quietly for 2 or 3 minutes, he opened the window and jumped into the villa. Qin Haodong saw it clearly from behind. The smoke that the black shadow blew out was the smoke commonly used by thieves. There was no killing intent on him. His technique and method were more like a thief than a killer, so he was not in a hurry to make a move. Sure enough, after entering the villa, the black shadow began to search room by room. It seemed that he was looking for something valuable. Soon he slowly came to the bedroom of Lin Momo and the little fellow. Qin Haodong followed the black shadow closely. Once he had the killing intent on the mother and daughter, he would kill him as fast as lightning. The black shadow entered the room quietly. He did not pay attention to people but searched around. Suddenly he saw the king green jade beside the little fellow's pillow. He immediately grabbed it in his hand and turned away. Qin Haodong's tense expression immediately relaxed a lot. It seemed that he was really just a thief, not a killer. Although the king green jade was worth more than 100 million yuan, Qin Haodong did not stop him. This person obviously came with a purpose. He was not sure whether there was someone behind it, so he had to follow the black shadow to find out the truth. After the black shadow succeeded, he obviously relaxed a lot. When he left, he was not as cautious as when he entered. Perhaps he had enough confidence in his knockout smoke and thought that all the people in the villa had been knocked out. But he didn't know that there were 2 dogs in the room. After Damao and Ermao were cleansed, this kind of ordinary sleeping gas had no effect on them. When they sensed that a stranger had entered, they immediately barked and pounced towards the black figure. The black shadow was startled. It obviously didn't expect that there were 2 dogs in the villa, and they weren't knocked down by the smoke. At this time he had already got the king green jade. He didn't want to stay any longer, so he jumped out of the window directly. However, the roar of Damao and Ermao had aroused the vigilance of Tomahawk and Whip. They immediately found the shadow jumping out of the window. The 2 of them were shocked. Qin Haodong asked them to protect Lin Momo here, but they didn't notice when the shadow went in. If something happened to Lin Momo and the little fellow, they would have no face to face their boss. Thinking of this, the 2 of them roared and pounced at the black shadow together. 2 bright short axes appeared in Tomahawk's hands, and with a murderous aura, he chopped at the black shadow's upper body. A long black whip appeared in Whip's hands. It was like a spirit snake in the night, and it swept to the legs of the black shadow. The 2 of them were in the same mercenary group, so they had a tacit understanding and blocked all the retreat of the black shadow. In the face of the attack of the 2 masters, the black shadow was shocked but not confused. His body was pulled up more than 2 meters high, and he swept over the heads of Whip and Tomahawk. Such a brilliant lightness skill was also beyond the expectation of Whip and Tomahawk. They didn't make a move, so they quickly turned back to attack again. A short axe in Tomahawk's hands turned into a ray of cold light, and he chopped at the back of the black shadow. The long whip of whip also turned into a whip shadow all over the sky and swept over. The black shadow didn't look back. He sideways to avoid the whistling short axe, but this was his limit. He could no longer avoid the long whip behind him, and his left shoulder was swept at once. He staggered forward 2 steps, but he still didn't stop. He ran forward quickly and shouted at the same time, "Go and save people, or it will be too late." This person's voice was very clear, and it turned out to be a woman. Tomahawk and Whip, who originally wanted to continue to chase, were shocked. In contrast, the safety of Lin Momo and the little fellow was more important. They didn't dare to chase the black shadow anymore, but jumped into the villa. The black shadow led away the 2 strong enemies, Tomahawk and Whip, and soon disappeared into the night. She ran all the way, and after more than half an hour she came to the door of a huge courtyard. There was no light in the courtyard, and there was a shabby plaque hanging at the door. There was an orphanage. The courtyard of the orphanage was very large, and there were many houses inside, but they looked very shabby and should have been repaired for a long time. The black shadow jumped into the courtyard from the low wall, and then walked into a room. But this time she pushed the door open, and it was obvious that this was her residence. After entering the room, she lit a lamp and then took off the mask on her face and took off her night clothes. Although the light was dim, it could still be seen that this was a very beautiful girl, and her age was about 20 years old. The girl took out a small bottle and some gauze from the side of the shabby drawer, and then took off her clothes with a painful look, revealing half of her snow-white arm. Whip's cultivation had reached the 8th level of overt power, and his whip skills were even more superb. Although the long whip in his hand just swept the girl's shoulder, it still made the skin and flesh torn, and it looked a little shocking. The girl applied the ointment in the small bottle to the wound on her shoulder, and then wrapped it with gauze. But from her frowning brows and pale face, it could be seen that the effect of the ointment was not very good. After doing all this, she took out the king green jade from her pocket, and finally a gratified smile bloomed on her face, which looked a little strange against the green light. "How is it? My stuff is good, right?" A voice suddenly rang out in the room. The girl was shocked and quickly put the king green jade into her pocket, and then suddenly turned back, and there was a shining dagger in her hand. She saw a young man looking at her with a smile and cried in horror, It's you. How did you find me?" Qin Haodong smiled slightly, "You stole my stuff and I followed you." He was sure that the girl was just a one-legged thief, and there was neither a mastermind behind her, nor an accomplice, so he no longer hid and walked directly into the room. The girl was secretly surprised. Her lightness skill could be said to be the best, but this person could quietly follow behind her, and she didn't notice it at all, which was enough to show that his cultivation was high. "Give it to me. This is my daughter's thing and it's time to return it to its original owner," Qin Haodong said and reached out his right hand to the girl. No. The girl took a few steps back after saying that, and nervously held the king green jade in her pocket. "That's not good." Qin Haodong was amused by her and said, "As the saying goes, there is also a way for thieves. As a thief, you have been found by the owner of the stolen goods, so why not obediently return the stolen goods?" The girl lowered her head slightly, and bit her lips with a complicated look. After a moment, she raised her head and said, "Yes, according to the rules of the Steel Sect, I should return it to you, but this thing is too important to me. As long as you can give it to me, I can promise you anything you want." As she said that, she gently took off her gown and slowly took off her coat, leaving only her black underwear. Under the dim light, the girl's white skin shone with an attractive brilliance, and her curvaceous figure made people have infinite reverie. Qin Haodong was not moved at all. He smiled faintly, pulled a chair and sat down. Then he looked at the furnishings and decorations in the room. Most of them were dilapidated. Then he looked at the clothes the girl had taken off. They were all street goods that cost dozens of yuan, and it seemed that they had been worn for a long time. "Do you know how much the thing in your hand is worth?" he asked. "Yes," the girl said, "I saw it in the exhibition center today. Someone offered 100 million yuan for it." "Then why do you want me to give it to you? Do you really think you are so valuable? 100 million yuan is enough for me to find a woman for the rest of my life." The girl gritted her teeth and said, "As long as you give it to me, I can not only sleep with you, but also kill for you, steal for you, and do everything for you." Qin Haodong looked at the girl with a firm look, and asked with interest, "I can see that you are not a woman who loves money very much. Why are you willing to pay such a high price? Give me a reason." "Reason? What else do you want?" The girl suddenly became very excited and she shouted at Qin Haodong, "You rich people can eat good food and wear good clothes, live in villas, drive luxury cars, and give a treasure worth 100 million yuan to your daughter as a toy. But have you ever thought about how many poor children there are in the world? They have no parents, no one to rely on, and can only gather in these shabby houses to barely survive, but now the houses are going to collapse. Where do you want them to live? Do you want them to sleep on the road?" After the girl shouted, her already very full chest rose and fell violently, and her eyes were full of anger and unwillingness. Qin Haodong looked at her quietly and did not speak for a long time. After a while, he said lightly, "I earned my money with my own ability. Poverty can't be a reason for you to steal." The girl also calmed down a lot and she said, "That's why I want to exchange with you with my body, with everything I have. Do you want to use the money exchanged for this jade to renovate the house here?" The girl did not speak this time but nodded firmly. "Tell me your story. If it can move me, maybe I will give it to you," Qin Haodong said. "Really? Are you really willing to give it to me?" The girl could not believe it. Qin Haodong smiled at her and said, "Not yet. It depends on your performance later. As long as you tell me everything honestly, maybe I can help you. Now what you need to do is to put on your clothes first." Chapter 75. I was an orphan abandoned by my parents when I was a child. I was picked up by the old dean here and grew up here. The old dean was a good person, and he made sure that the children here felt at home. But because of the limited conditions, the children in the orphanage had to leave after the age of 16, and I was no exception. I left the orphanage on my 16th birthday. Because I had no education and no skills, I drifted in the society after I left, working everywhere to make a living. Until one day I met a crazy old Taoist who was a fortune teller. He said that my body was very suitable for the inheritance of the steel sect, so he taught me a set of cultivation methods and ways of stealing. Qin Haodong nodded secretly. The 6 people of the divine mercenaries were stuck in the 7th level of overt power when they were in their 30s. Finally, they reached the 8th level of overt power with his help. But this girl had reached this level at the age of 20, which showed that she was very talented. I had nowhere to go at that time, so I learned from the old Taoist for 3 months. Then the old Taoist left. When he left, he repeatedly told me that I must abide by the rules of the steel sect. I could only steal ill-gotten money and rob the rich to help the poor. Later, I made a living by stealing, but the money I stole was taken back to the orphanage to improve the lives of my brothers and sisters. Qin Haodong could feel that what the girl said was from the bottom of her heart. "I've seen your level of stealing. It's really high. According to your level, you should be able to steal a lot of money. Why does it seem that you don't have a good life?" The girl said with a wry smile, "I thought so, but I realized that it's not that easy to steal until I actually did it, restricted by the rules of the steel sect. The people I could steal were limited to corrupt officials and bullies. There were not many of them. Although these people were rich, they didn't have much cash in their homes. Basically, they had fixed assets and stored them in the bank. In this case, I could not steal much money at a time. Especially in recent years, people pay directly with their mobile phones without money in their pockets, which makes it more and more difficult for the steel sect to do business. They have all the skills but they can't steal money." Qin Haodong said, "Why didn't you steal something valuable? Can't you exchange it for money?" The girl shook her head and said, "I'm alone everywhere I go. Even if I steal something valuable, I don't have a way to sell it. Moreover, I might even implicate the orphanage. So I basically take cash and don't touch anything else." Then why did you break the rules and steal my jade this time?" The girl blushed and said, "The house in the orphanage is too shabby. Recently it has been the rainy season in Jiangnan. Many of the younger brothers and sisters' rooms are leaking, and some are even showing signs of collapse. That's why I wanted to get more money to renovate the orphanage so that my younger siblings could live a better life. But it required a lot of money and it was too difficult. It just so happens that there will be a raw gemstone exhibition at the convention center in the next 2 days. I feel that those who buy raw gemstones there are all rich people, so I want to try my luck there. When I got there, I happened to see you get this king green jade. Someone even offered 100 million yuan. I was tempted. As long as I could get this piece of jade, I would be able to renovate all the rooms in the orphanage and install air conditioners in each room. So I decided to make an exception. Anyway, you are rich and don't care about losing a toy. So I quietly followed you to the villa and got the jade. But I didn't expect that you had such a powerful bodyguard. I was injured and you followed me here." Qin Haodong was moved after hearing this. This girl was really a grateful girl. She was willing to sacrifice herself for the children in the orphanage, which was commendable. He raised his hand to stop the girl's acupoints, and then took the king green jade from the girl's pocket. The girl was in a state of absent-mindedness. Seeing that Qin Haodong took the jade back, her eyes flashed with unconcealable sadness and disappointment. Qin Haodong didn't stop. After putting the jade in his pocket, he gently pulled off the girl's shirt. Ping, what? What are you going to do? The girl suddenly panicked. She was fearless when she took off her clothes, but now she didn't have the courage. But now her acupoints were restricted, and she couldn't move even if she wanted to. Qin Haodong reached out and pulled off the gauze wrapped around her shoulder. Then he took out a small white jade bottle from his pocket, picked out the black ointment from it with his fingertips, and gently applied it to the girl's injured shoulder. The girl only felt a coolness on the wound on her shoulder, and the pain just disappeared. Knowing that he was treating her injury, she immediately relaxed a lot. The black ointment in the jade bottle was the bone regeneration ointment made by Qin Haodong, which had a miraculous effect on this kind of trauma. After applying the ointment, he helped the girl comb the injured meridians with greenwood genuine qi. Soon the whip wound on the girl's shoulder was healed. Qin Haodong helped her put on her clothes again and unblocked her acupoints. The girl tidied up her clothes, looked at Qin Haodong with a complicated expression, and said, "Brother, thank you, Pin, you're welcome. I'm just a doctor. It's nothing." The girl hesitated, bit her lip and said, "Since you're so rich, can't you help these children?" "Yes, I was really touched by your story, but this jade is a gift I promised to my daughter. I can't give it to you." When the girl fell into disappointment again, Qin Haodong took out a cash check from his pocket and gave it to her. "This is 30 million. That's all I have, but it should be enough to renovate the house of the orphanage." The girl looked at the check in front of her and looked at Qin Haodong in confusion. "Brother, are you really willing to help us?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "At least for now. If you don't take it away, I'm not sure." "Brother, thank you." The girl took the check and began to take off her clothes again. Qin Haodong quickly pressed her arm and said, "What are you going to do?" The girl said excitedly, "Brother, as long as you are willing to take out so much money to help us, I know there's no free lunch in the world. I can only repay you with my body." Qin Haodong said, "No need. Since I want to help you, I don't expect anything in return." The girl knelt in front of Qin Haodong and said, "Brother, on behalf of all the children in the orphanage, thank you. I told you no need. If there's nothing else, I'll go back." Qin Haodong helped the girl up and turned to leave. "Brother, wait a minute." The girl stopped Qin Haodong. "Is there anything else?" "Brother, I'm really sorry to take so much money from you. I still have some things here. Can you see if there's anything that you can use? It's a little compensation." Then the girl squatted down and pulled out a snakeskin bag from under the bed. After opening it, there were some antiques like vases and jades in it. "What's this?" Qin Haodong asked. "The year before last, there was a corrupt official who embezzled the money allocated to the orphanage. I went to his house in anger, but I didn't find much cash. In the end, I took all the antiques from his house. I didn't have a sales channel after I took these things, so I just put them under the bed. Brother, you can take them if you can use them." Then she poured all the things in the bag on the ground for Qin Haodong to choose. Qin Haodong looked down at these things and found that there was no spiritual qi at all. It was obvious that they were fake. It seemed that the corrupt official was also a layman and collected such worthless things. "These are all fakes. They can't be sold for much money. Just deal with them casually." Then Qin Haodong turned around and was about to leave. Suddenly, his eyes locked on a ring next to a vase. The ring looked gray and dark. It didn't look like a good thing at all, but he was so fascinated by it that his hand trembled slightly when he reached out. Holding the ring in his hand, Qin Haodong slowly closed his eyes. At this moment he had clearly felt that this was a storage ring, and it was the best of the best. Storage rings could be seen everywhere in the cultivation world. They were almost essential items for cultivators. This thing could form a three-dimensional space independently and was a mobile warehouse. It was very convenient to store things and was every cultivator's favorite. But after he came to the earth, storage rings became rare items. Although he had the ability to refine them, there was no raw material with space property here, so it was impossible to refine them. When he first returned to the earth, he was very uncomfortable without a storage ring. He didn't expect to meet one by chance today. Storage ring would only appear in the form of a ring when it was just refined and the owner died. Once it recognized the owner, it would form an independent space in the owner's body. This ring was obviously not a new one, so the owner should be dead. The owner of the storage ring must be a cultivator. A dead cultivator was likely to leave a lot of magic tools and items, which made Qin Haodong look forward to it very much. After all, it was too difficult to cultivate step by step in a place like the earth where spiritual qi was scarce. He could only improve his cultivation with the help of external forces. But in front of the girl, he couldn't let the storage ring recognize the owner immediately, so he could only suppress the impulse in his heart. I want this thing. Qin Haodong said. Okay, you can take it if you need it. Seeing that he liked the ring, the girl was very happy and didn't show any reluctance. Qin Haodong put away the storage ring. In his heart, this ring was priceless. Even 10 people couldn't buy it with 30 million yuan. From this point of view, he was very grateful to the girl. If the girl hadn't stolen his jade, he wouldn't have such a big unexpected gain. How long have you been at this level? Qin Haodong asked. It's been almost half a year. In the past, it was easy to break through when I was cultivating. At most 3 months I would be promoted by one realm. But after I reached the 8th level of overt power, I encountered a bottleneck. I couldn't break through no matter how many times I tried. The girl looked regretful when she talked about it. She didn't know that it was already very enchanting to be able to reach the 8th level of overt power in just a few years without any external help. Even some inner disciples of the sect didn't have such a speed. Qin Haodong took out a small spirit culturing pill and gave it to the girl. Eat it. I'll help you break through. It's your compensation. What? Brother, are you right? Can you really help me break through? The girl's expression was one of excitement and surprise. To tell you the truth, this ring is very precious and important to me. Qin Haodong said, don't doubt my words. Eat the pill and I'll help you break through immediately. The girl no longer hesitated. She grabbed the spirit culturing pill and put it into her mouth, then sat cross-legged on the bed. Chapter 76. Qin Haodong came to the girl and put his right hand on the Baihui acupoint on the top of her head. Then he poured green wood genuine qi into her body to help her melt the power of the little strengthening pill. The genuine qi entered her body. Qin Haodong clearly felt that the girl had excellent root and much wider meridians than ordinary people. She was indeed a genius in martial arts. 10 minutes later, the bottleneck that had troubled the girl for a long time was easily broken with the help of Qin Haodong. Her cultivation directly reached the early stage of the 9th level of overt power. Feeling the powerful genuine qi in her body, the girl was happy. She jumped out of bed and bowed deeply to Qin Haodong. Brother, please accept me. What do you mean? Qin Haodong asked in confusion. He didn't understand what she wanted to say for a while. The crazy Taoist once told my fortune. He said that when I reached the 8th level of overt power, I would encounter the first bottleneck in my life. If I didn't meet a benefactor, I wouldn't be able to break through. On the contrary, if someone could help me break through the bottleneck, he would be my benefactor. He said that I must follow the benefactor so that I can get a big chance. Qin Haodong thought that the crazy Taoist was really a master. He could accurately predict what would happen a few years later. He thought about it. Although the divine mercenaries were very strong, they were all men. Especially at night, there were still loopholes in the protection of Lin Momo. Today was the most obvious example. Now that the mastermind behind the scenes had not been found out, it was possible to assassinate Lin Momo again at any time. It was perfect to put the girl in front of him to protect Lin Momo. Well, from today on you will follow me. My name is Qin Haodong. I'm a doctor. You can call me boss in the future. Yao Chanshan, thank you, boss. The girl said to Qin Haodong respectfully. If there is nothing else, you can go with me now. I will find a professional to help you renovate the orphanage. Thank you, boss. Yao Chanshan was overjoyed. Although she had cultivation and the ability to steal, she knew nothing about renovating a house. There was no one in the orphanage who could do it. It would be best if Qin Haodong could find a professional to help him. She didn't have too many things. After simply packing some belongings, she left the orphanage with Qin Haodong. After returning to the number 6 villa, Qin Haodong asked Yao Chanshan to choose a guest room for herself and then hurried back to his own room. He wanted to make the storage ring recognize him as the owner as soon as possible and see what was inside. After closing the door, he held the storage ring in his palm. He didn't get a good look at it when he was with Yao Chanshan, so he had to take a good look at it now. The ring was completely gray and looked ordinary. Upon closer inspection, there were patterns carved on the inner wall. If others saw it, they would not be able to recognize what it was, but Qin Haodong did. It was an ancient language of the cultivation world, which translated into modern words, fairyland. Qin Haodong understood it, but he didn't understand what it meant. Could it be that this storage ring came from a sect called Fairyland or other cultivation forces? After looking at it for a long time, he still couldn't understand the meaning of these two words. In the end, he simply gave up and let the ring recognize him as its owner. He used his powerful primordial spirit power to cover the ring. Because it was ownerless, it easily recognized him as its master. After a flash of light, it disappeared, and a circle of black patterns appeared on his middle finger. Qin Haodong looked at the ring with his divine thoughts and immediately entered an empty space. Originally, he had great hopes for this storage ring, thinking that he could get the inheritance of the predecessor cultivators, but after coming in he found that there was nothing here. The only thing that pleased him was that this storage ring had a large space of nearly 100 cubic meters, while the one he had in his previous life was only dozens of square meters. After reading it, Qin Haodong was slightly disappointed. Now his cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level of overt power, but he practiced cultivation methods, which required a lot of spiritual qi. If he didn't rely on external forces such as treasures or spirit stones, it would be difficult to reach the Zhuji realm. Fortunately, it was much more convenient with the storage ring. He put all the things he used with him, such as medicinal materials, into the storage ring. After tidying up, he found that he had become a pauper again. Although he had won 130 million yuan through stone gambling in the exhibition center a few hours ago, he had spent it all in the blink of an eye. There were only a few 100,000 yuan left in his pocket. The next morning when Qin Haodong got up, Yao Chanshan was already waiting at the door. After a night of cultivation, her cultivation of the 9th level of overt power had been completely stabilized, and her breath was stable and strong. They came to the Lin's villa together. As soon as they entered the courtyard, Axe and Whip came over. Boss, I'm sorry. We failed our duty last night. Please punish us. Last night, they rushed into the Lin's villa, only to find that the people in the building had been drugged. However, the toxicity of this kind of drugging was not great, and it could only make people fall into a deep sleep for a short time. Although it was a close call, they were still scared and broke into a cold sweat. They felt sorry for Qin Haodong, so they came here early in the morning to ask for forgiveness. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "Forget it. I know what happened. It's not all your fault." He pulled Yao Chanshan and introduced her to them. "This is the new member of our daddy security company, and also one of the 9th level security guards. She will protect Momo and the little fellow closely in the future, so that you will be fine." Thank you, boss." Axe and Whip said hello to Yao Chanshan after thanking Qin Haodong. Obviously, they did not recognize that she was the man in black from last night. They were very happy to have Yao Chanshan join them. Because of her gender, the people of the divine mercenaries could only guard outside at night, which made it more difficult. It would be much better if there was someone guarding inside the villa. After that, Qin Haodong took Yao Chanshan into the Lin's villa and introduced her to Lin Momo and others. Lin Momo already knew that they were drugged last night. She was shocked and broke into a cold sweat. Fortunately, she and the little fellow were not hurt. Because of this, she was very happy to have Qin Haodong's new female bodyguard. Besides, Yao Chanshan was handsome and steady, which was very suitable for her. She enthusiastically took Yao Chanshan into the villa and arranged a room for her. Because their figures were similar, she found a lot of new clothes and shoes for Yao Chanshan. The little fellow also liked Yao Chanshan very much. She kept calling her aunt. Only Damao and Ermao smelled Yao Chanshan and roared from time to time, but they were stopped by Qin Haodong. After that, Qin Haodong returned the king green jade to the little fellow, but this time it was put away by Lin Momo. After breakfast, everything in the Lin's family was on the right track. Lin Momo went to work under the protection of Yao Chanshan. At the same time, many things happened in Jiangnan City. The Jiangnan criminal police team made great achievements after a surprise interrogation. Although the one-eyed Meng gang was very tight-lipped, Nalan Wuxia still found out from his men that the mastermind behind it was Zhou Cuizue, and organized an arrest overnight. But Feng Tianda had already prepared. Soon after Meng gang and others were arrested, he used the connections of the Feng's group to get the news from the criminal police team. Zhou Cuizue was originally very arrogant, but she was immediately scared after knowing the seriousness of the matter. She also knew that this was Wuxia, not Burma. If something happened, her brother could not protect her, so she immediately asked Feng Tianda to send her back to Burma. It turned out that what she did was right. Not long after she left, Nalan Wuxia came to the Feng's group with her men, but they failed. Zhou Cuizue returned to Burma, and the Wuxia police had no good way to deal with her for the time being. After sending away this unreasonable and ugly girlfriend, Feng Tianda felt relieved. He was really tortured by Zhou Cuizue these days, and it could be said that he had paid a great sacrifice for the interests of the Feng's family. From the bottom of his heart, he hated this woman to death. If Zhou Cuizue hadn't taken a fancy to Qin Haodong's 2 dogs, he wouldn't have lost all the money that he had accumulated over the years and lost his face. Fortunately, he finally sent away the jinx, and he devoted all his energy to the raw gemstone exhibition in the exhibition center. Shortly after the opening in the morning, one of his men came to report to him that a lot of stone gamblers came to the raw gemstone exhibition with their dogs. Last night, the news that Qin Haodong used dogs to choose raw gemstones and won 3 games in a row had spread in the circle of stone gambling. Many people also brought their dogs with the mentality of trying. For a time, the raw gemstone exhibition in the exhibition center almost turned into a famous dog exhibition. All kinds of famous dogs gathered together, including golden retrievers, huskies, and labradors. There were even 2 people who came with their pet pigs. It was said that pigs had a much more sensitive sense of smell than dogs. Feng Tianda immediately panicked. Although he didn't know whether these dogs had the ability of Damao and Ermao, if they did, the Feng family would go bankrupt. He quickly issued an emergency rule. At first, it was to restrict all dogs from entering the raw gemstone exhibition. Later, he thought it was not perfect, so he changed it to restrict all non-human creatures from entering the raw gemstone exhibition. After driving all kinds of big and small dogs out of the raw gemstone market, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. But before he could take a breath, suddenly a news spread in the stone gambling circle, saying that the raw gemstones of the old pit type of Feng's group were all fake, and no good jade could be cut out. What's more, some people said that the gambling last night was a good show made by the Feng's group. In fact, the young man with the dog was a shill hired by the Feng's group, and the purpose was to fool everyone. At first, Feng Tianda didn't care at all, thinking that the rumor was too ridiculous. But with the opening of the raw gemstone exhibition, many guests chose the raw gemstones and cut them on the spot, but no one cut out a piece of jade more than 3 times the premium. Most people lost money. This result further encouraged the rumor, and it spread more and more widely. The final result was that no one went to the Feng's group's exhibition, but went to the Lin's group's. In less than a day, the situation had a big reversal. The Feng's group became deserted, while the Lin's group was overcrowded, which made Feng Tianda very upset, but he couldn't find the reason. Outside the exhibition center, under the careful operation of Nailan Wushuang, Daddy Security Company made the headlines of major media in Jiangnan City. Daddy Security Company is extraordinary, and foreign criminals are caught in Wuxia. When a woman is robbed, Daddy keeps her safe. Daddy Security Company is the fighter of the security industry. The forums and post bars of major websites, the news about Daddy Security Company was also on the top, which attracted widespread attention. Qin Haodong didn't pay attention to these things. At this time, he was in front of the Jiangnan Art Museum with the little fellow, ready to participate in the Golden Voice Children's Singing Competition. Chapter 77. At the appointed time, Qin Haodong took the little fellow to the gate of Jiangnan Art Museum, but he didn't see the teacher, Wang Jiani. They waited for a while and then Wang Jiani came to them in a hurry. Miss Wang, we are here. The little fellow waved her little hands and kept shouting. Qin Haodong saw that Wang Jiani looked very pale today, and there were tears on her face as if she had just cried. He asked, Miss Wang, what happened? No. Nothing. I just got up a little late. Sorry. Wang Jiani said and squeezed out a smile which looked very stiff. Let's go in. I'm the only one in our class. Qin Haodong nodded, and when he was about to take the little fellow into the art museum, he saw a group of people coming. Among the crowd was a middle-aged couple, holding a little boy of 4 or 5 years old in their arms. Next to them was a young woman with a flattering face, and behind them were 7 or 8 bodyguards in black suits. The young woman was also a teacher of Gold Branch Jade Leaf Kindergarten. Her name was Zhao Yanyan. Wang Jiani was in charge of the first class of the kindergarten, and she was in charge of the second class. The little boy was Wang Guan, a friend of Zhao Yanyan's class. He was also here for the competition today. With Wang Guan as the center, these people came to the door like stars surrounding the moon. When they were about to enter the door, Wang Guan saw the little fellow in Qin Haodong's arms and shouted, Tang Tang, go home. The championship is mine. They were all in the same kindergarten. They often played together and knew each other very well. Of course, the little fellow was not convinced. Wang Guan, you're bragging again. I sing better than you. Why should you be the champion? I'm the champion. I'm the champion. Not only will I get the first place in today's competition, but I'll also be the champion in the final. You can ask Miss Zhao if you don't believe me. Wang Guan said with certainty. Zhao Yanyan said flatteringly, that's right. You sing so well. You'll definitely be the champion today. The little fellow was not happy and said, Miss Zhao, you're wrong. Wang Guan's singing is terrible. He sounds like a duck quacking. Quack. Wang Jiani said to Zhao Yanyan, Teacher Zhao, we are just the staff of the kindergarten. We brought our children to participate in the competition. We have no right to say who is the champion. Zhao Yanyan looked at Wang Jiani and then glanced at Qin Haodong next to her. Her eyes were full of disdain. Such a rare opportunity to participate in the competition should be used to make friends with a rich parent, but the young man beside Wang Jiani did not look like a rich person. Although Wang Guan's singing was terrible, his father was Wang Hongbing, a famous real estate developer in Jiangnan. He had promised to sell her a house at a 50% discount. Mr. Wang, you don't have to say anything. Wang Guan will be the champion today. Just wait and see. That's impossible. The competition hasn't even started. How can they know who the champion is? And our classmate Tang Tang's singing is really good. I've already told you that the first place today will belong to our Wang Guan. Stop talking nonsense. Was the middle-aged woman Wang Guan's mother, Ma Hong, who spoke. She glanced at Wang Jiani and Qin Haodong and said arrogantly, our Wang family is rich, and my father is the deputy director of the Cultural Bureau. If Wang Guan doesn't win the first place today, will it be yours? Wang Jiani said, Madam, we are here to compete in singing, not to compare whose family is rich. The first place depends on whose song is better. And it's not up to you to decide. It's up to the judges to decide. Mei Hong laughed and her face was full of disdain. Judges? It's all because our Wang clan tells them to say whatever they want. After all, they're all working for my father. Wang Hongbing said, well, let's go in. Then a dozen of them entered the venue arrogantly. Wang Guan did not forget to show off to the little fellow, I'm the champion. I'm the champion. Of course, the little fellow was unhappy. She said to Qin Haodong with grievance, Papa, is what they said true? Can't I win the first place? Qin Haodong said, of course not. As long as you sing well, you will win the first place today. Great. I'll sing well and win the first place. The little fellow was excited again. Miss Wang, let's go in. Qin Haodong said and walked into the venue with the little fellow, followed by Wang Jiani. I really don't know what these people are thinking. How can they educate their children like this? Wang Jiani shook her head as she walked. Participating in the competition is good for the growth of children. But if they spoil their children in this way, it will only be counterproductive. Qin Haodong said, don't worry about those people. As long as the little fellow performs well. Wang Jiani said, Mr. Qin, you should be mentally prepared. Wang Guan's parents are really powerful, and no one can predict what will happen now. Tang Tang's participation in the competition is more about the process than the result. And today is the preliminaries. The top 10 can participate in the semi-finals tomorrow night. Qin Haodong smiled. He could tell that Wang Jiani was giving him a heads-up. It seemed that she had no confidence that Tang Tang could win the first place. Don't worry, Miss Wang. I believe that the judges are fair. As long as the little fellow sings well, she will win the first place. Wang Jiani opened her mouth but did not say anything. But it was obvious that she did not agree with Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong did not continue this topic. He turned to the little fellow and said, Tang Tang, what song are you going to sing today? The little fellow said mysteriously, it's a secret. I'll let Papa know later. So mysterious. You're keeping it a secret from Papa? That's why I'm keeping it a secret from Papa. The little fellow giggled. 9 a.m. the competition started on time. The little fellow was number 6, and the number 5 in front of her was Wang Guan. Soon it was Wang Guan's turn. As soon as he got on the stage before he could sing, there was a burst of applause. Obviously these people were arranged by the Wang family. The song that Wang Guan sang was Little Neza. This song was very familiar to everyone. However, when it came out of Wang Guan's mouth, it sounded disjointed and terrible, which ruined the image of this song in people's hearts. Some of the audience secretly grinned, some couldn't help sneering and some even covered their ears. Upon the stage, Wang Guan was very intoxicated with the song. He was so excited that he did not sing in tune at all. Finally he finished singing the song, and the audience breathed a sigh of relief. Led by Wang Hongbing, the Wang family applauded again and kept cheering. Papa, his singing is terrible. The little fellow frowned and said. Qin Haodong said, it doesn't matter. The next one is Tang Tang. Tang Tang will sing a nice song for everyone. This time the host on the stage shouted, let's welcome number 6, Tang Tang. Her song is I Wanna Find My Dad. Standing under the stage, Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He did not expect that the little fellow would choose this song. No wonder she kept it a secret from him. Tang Tang went on the stage and sang loudly in front of the audience without any stage fright. Not afraid of the falling rain, not afraid of the falling snow, not afraid of the cold wind and snow, can see his face every day / not afraid of the heavy wind and snow, I want to find my dad / wherever I go, I want to find my dad. The little fellow's voice was sweet, and she sang very emotionally. Thinking of the children's ridicule and her longing for her dad, she even shed 2 lines of tears as she sang. Looking at the little fellow who performed to her heart's content on the stage, Qin Haodong was full of guilt. He owed his daughter too much these years. Unconsciously, a cloud of mist rose in his eyes. The audience was moved by the little fellow's performance. When the song ended, many people's eyes were full of tears. After a short silence, the audience burst into warm applause. There would be no harm if there was no comparison. They were both young actors in the competition, but compared with Wang Guan, the little guy sang much better. After getting off the stage, the little fellow happily threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms, although there were still tears on her face. Papa, did I sing this song for you? Can you give me the first place? Qin Haodong kissed his daughter's smooth little face again and said lovingly, Tang Tang, you sing so well. The first place is definitely yours. Wang Jiani didn't expect the little fellow to perform so well. She also said excitedly, Tang Tang, you sing so well. You will definitely be a big star in the future. A big star like Ouyang Shanshan? The little fellow blinked her big eyes and asked. Even better than her. Wang Jiani said. Great, I'm going to be a big star, I'm going to be a big star. The little fellow laughed more and more happily. Upon the other side of the stage, Wang Guan also seemed to feel the threat from Tang Tang. He said to Ma Hong with uncertainty, Mom, can I still be the champion? Ma Hong said, of course you can. You are a member of the Wang family. It doesn't matter how well they sing. The morning passed slowly. The 20 young contestants all performed on the stage one after another. It was time for the judges to make the final judgment. Today's preliminaries did not adopt the method of scoring on the spot. Instead, after the competition, each judge would give their own scores to the contestants one by one, and then the final score would be summed up. The 7 judges huddled together and whispered to each other with a troubled look on their faces. There were a total of 20 young contestants, and the other 18 were easy to score. It was the little fellow and Wang Guan who were the most difficult ones to score. The little fellow sang the best. In terms of singing ability, she deserved the first place. But Wang Guan was a member of the Wang family. Although his singing was terrible, Wang Hongbing had already informed the judges before the competition. What's more, Wang Guan's grandfather was the deputy director of the Cultural Bureau, so the judges had to respect him. At last, the chief judge made the final decision. According to the original plan, Wang Guan won the first place, and number 6 contestant Tang Tang was the second. But he didn't do it himself. Instead, he asked the deputy chief judge to make the announcement on the stage. The deputy chief judge secretly grinned, but he had no choice. After all, he was the deputy chief judge. He could only follow the arrangement and walk to the stage with the microphone. Fortunately, he was also an experienced man. He had mastered the skill of lying with his eyes wide open. Today, all the young contestants performed very well, especially Wang Guan. At such a young age, you have a hoarse singing style and you can interpret the nursery rhyme with the charm of rock and roll. It is really commendable. All the judges have unanimously decided that the first place of today's competition is number 5 contestant Wang Guan. As soon as his voice fell, the scene immediately became noisy, and there was a lot of noise. What the F***ck? It's so shady, such an awful voice. How can you say it's hoarse? Can it be any more fake? None of your words are on point. How can you say it's rock and roll? Why don't you go to heaven? I heard that number 5 kid's family is very rich. His father is a real estate developer. It seems that it's time to rely on his father. Chapter 78. Hearing the result, Wang Guan immediately jumped up and shouted happily, "Oh, the first place! I'm the first place!" Wang Hongbing and Ma Hong's faces were also filled with pride. In front of the Wang family's powerful strength, everything else was just fleeting clouds. Although their son and the little girl sang very well, so what? The first place is still my son's. It doesn't matter whether he sings well or not. What matters is having a good father. The little fellow immediately felt wronged. "Papa, I didn't sing well? Why didn't I get the first place?" Wang Jiani sighed. What she expected had happened. She comforted the little fellow, "Tang Tang, don't be sad. It's okay. Even if we can't get the first place, we can still pass the preliminaries. We can continue to work hard." Qin Haodong sneered and thought, competing for father? In this world, could there be a father more powerful than him, Emperor Greenwood? He said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, don't worry. In fact, you are the first place. It's just that the referee made a mistake. Wait here, I'll go and remind them now." Then he put the little fellow in Wang Jiani's arms and strode to the referee's seat. In front of the chief judge, Qin Haodong said, "The result you announced is wrong. The first place should be contestant number 6. The chief judge didn't expect that someone would question their judgment. Although the result was against his will, in order to maintain the authority of the referee, he would never allow others to question it. He raised his head and was about to reprimand this person who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth when he suddenly changed his words. "You're right. We just made a mistake. I'll go and correct it now." After that, he strode to the stage, grabbed the microphone from the deputy chief referee, and said, "There's an error in the announcement just now. I'd like to correct it. The first place of this competition is contestant number 6, Tang Tang." Suddenly the audience was silent. No one expected that the result announced by the deputy chief judge would be changed by the chief judge in the blink of an eye. But this result was more in line with everyone's expectation. This was the result they wanted. This was the fair judgment. Suddenly the audience burst into thunderous applause. "I'm the first place. I'm the first place." The little fellow danced with joy. She hugged Qin Haodong's neck and kissed him several times. "Papa is great. Papa is awesome." Wang Jiani looked at Qin Haodong in surprise and asked incredulously, "How did you do that?" "It's very simple. The head judge is a very reasonable person. I told him that the result was wrong and he immediately corrected it," Qin Haodong said with a smile. He couldn't tell the little girl that he had used the mind-manipulating skill. The mind-manipulating technique was the upgraded version of the mind-bewitching technique. The mind-bewitching technique could make people reveal their true thoughts, while the mind-manipulating technique could make people do things according to their own thoughts. Since the other party wanted to compete with his father, and since the judge feared the strength of the Wang family, then he could only use his own strength to give the little fellow justice. Wang Jiani's face was full of disbelief, but the truth was right in front of her, and she couldn't find any other suitable excuse. The Wangs were in a complete mess. Seeing that the first place he had just won was gone, Wang Guan burst into tears. He punched Wang Hongbing and shouted, "You said that I would definitely get the first place because I'm a member of the Wangs. Why is it gone now? How did that hateful little girl get first place? Does she sing better than me?" "Son, don't worry. I'll go and have a look." Wang Hongbing didn't expect that the judge, whom he had already greeted, wouldn't give face to the Wangs. He went to the judge's seat angrily. "Chief Judge, what's wrong? Shouldn't my son be the first?" The chief judge glanced at him fearlessly. He didn't give face to him just because he was the master of the Wangs. The little girl sang well, so she should get the first place. This is the most fair result. What? No matter how good she is, can she be better than my son? Don't forget that my son is a member of the Wangs. His grandfather often praised him for his good singing. Although Wang Hongbing was angry, he was still rational. He tactfully reminded the chief judge that they were members of the Wangs, and his father-in-law was the deputy director of the Cultural Bureau. However, the chief judge acted as if he had taken some strong medicine and didn't give him face at all. He said angrily, "What Wangs? I treat everyone equally. Your son wants to get the first place? Why don't you take a piss and take a picture?" Wang Hongbing was furious. He pointed at the chief judge and shouted, "Stop pretending. Don't forget what you did yesterday." He was so angry that he wanted to expose the fact that he had given the chief judge a gift yesterday. The deputy judge hurriedly stopped him and said, "Mr. Wang, please calm down. It won't be good for anyone if this matter is exposed." Although the deputy judge didn't know what was wrong with the chief judge, it wouldn't be good for anyone if this matter was exposed. That was why he stood out to stop him. Wang Hongbing thought about it and realized that it was true. He glared at the chief judge, but he suppressed his anger in the end. The deputy judge said, "Mr. Wang, although your son can't get the first place today, I can give him the second place. He can still participate in the semi-final. I believe you can win the championship at that time." Wang Hongbing knew that this was the only way. He snorted and went back to the Wangs. Then the deputy judge went to the stage again to announce the ranking of the other contestants. Wang Guan became the second place instead of the first place. Qin Haodong didn't care about this. He was not a savior. He just wanted to make sure that the little fellow could get a fair treatment. When he stopped the mind manipulating, the chief judge suddenly shivered as if he had a nightmare. But it had happened and the Wangs had been offended. There was no medicine for regret. In this way the preliminaries ended like a farce. But the ranking was still valid. The little fellow was informed to participate in the semi-final at 8 o'clock the next night. After winning the first place today, the little fellow happily followed Qin Haodong out of the gate of the art gallery. Wang Jiani was also very happy to accompany the father and daughter. After all, the little fellow was her student. She was proud of her good results. Tang Tang, do well. I believe you can also win the championship in the final. I want to be the champion. I want to be a superstar. The little fellow shouted happily and ran forward quickly. Suddenly, a group of people blocked her way. It was Wang Hongbing and his family, followed by 7 or 8 bodyguards. The little fellow sensed that these people were not friendly. She quickly turned around and ran back, hugging Qin Haodong's leg. Holding the little fellow in his arms, Qin Haodong looked at Wang Hongbing and asked, "What's the matter?" Ma Hong said, "Your daughter took the first place from my son. Now you must apologize to him and promise that you won't participate in tomorrow's competition." Although Wang Guan was young, he had learned most of his parents' arrogance. He also shouted, "She took the first place from me. She must apologize to me." The little fellow immediately regained her courage when she was in Qin Haodong's arms. She shouted defiantly, "The first place is mine. Your singing is terrible." Wang Jiani said, "Wang Guan's mother, you're wrong. Children compete with their own strength. It was the referee who gave the first place to Tang Tang. How can you blame others? And you have no right to stop her from participating in tomorrow's competition. Who do you think you are?" Ma Hong immediately showed the face of a shrew. She pointed at Wang Jiani's nose and shouted, "If we respect you, we'll call you teacher. If we don't respect you, you're nothing in front of the Wangs. Believe it or not, I can ask the headmaster to expel you with a phone call. How can you be like this? How can you be a parent?" Wang Jiani's face turned red with anger. Her chest heaved violently. Ma Hong continued to shout arrogantly, "Little girl, I don't need you to teach me how to be a parent. If you know what's good for you, get out of my way or I'll fire you tomorrow." Wang Jiani still wanted to say something, but Qin Haodong pulled her behind him. He said coldly to the shrew Ma Hong, "A good dog doesn't stand in the way. Get out of my way." Seeing that the young man didn't respect the Wangs at all, Wang Hongbing's face darkened. "Boy, do you know who you're talking to?" "Yes, the Wangs." Qin Haodong said indifferently, "You're a real estate developer and your father-in-law is the deputy director of the Cultural Bureau." Wang Hongbing said arrogantly, "Good. Do as my wife says. Ask your daughter to apologize to my son, and don't come to the competition tomorrow night." "No, I want to compete. I want to be the champion," the little fellow said unhappily. Wang Guan yelled, "Don't come means don't come. If you come again, I'll ask my father to beat your father." The little fellow said, "You're bragging. My papa is the most powerful man. I'm not afraid of your papa." Ma Hong yelled, "Shut up, little girl. Your father is just a gigolo. How can he be compared with our Wangs?" Qin Haodong glanced at Wang Hongbing and the others and said with a playful face, "Did you bring money?" Ma Hong was slightly stunned and said, "Of course. Our Wangs are never short of money." Wang Hongbing said, "Do you want some money? As long as your daughter doesn't come to the competition tomorrow night, I can give you 10,000 yuan. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said with a smile, "No, I'm afraid that you won't have enough money to pay the hospitalization fee when you go to the hospital." Wang Hongbing's face turned cold and he said angrily, "Boy, you're courting death." He waved his hand and yelled to the bodyguards behind him, "Teach this boy a lesson. Let him know how powerful he is." His bodyguards were already eager to fight. They didn't take the young man who looked like he had no muscles seriously. After hearing their master's order, they immediately rushed to Qin Haodong. The bodyguard who rushed to the front punched Qin Haodong in the face. He wanted to perform well in front of his master. It would be ideal if he could get a raise next month. Unexpectedly, as soon as he punched out, he flew backward and smashed the two bodyguards behind him to the ground before he even touched Qin Haodong's clothes. Qin Haodong kicked the bodyguard away. Holding the little fellow in his arms, Qin Haodong kicked Wang Hongbing's bodyguards to the ground like kicking a ball. Great, great, Papa is great. The little fellow clapped her hands happily. Wang Jiani was afraid that Qin Haodong would suffer. She took out her mobile phone to call the police, but before she finished dialing the 3-digit number, all the people in front of her had been knocked to the ground. Chapter 79. Wang Hongbing and Ma Hong were dumbfounded. They wanted to teach this young man a lesson and let them know how powerful the Wang family was. They didn't expect that their bodyguards would be taught a lesson so soon. Qin Haodong walked to them with the little fellow in his arms and said happily, "You want to bully others? You're not qualified." Then he stretched out his right hand as fast as lightning. After a few muffled sounds, Wang Hongbing and Ma Hong's faces had 4 huge panda eyes. After teaching these 2 arrogant guys a lesson, Qin Haodong glanced at Wang Guan, who was standing next to him. He patted his face and said, "Little fellow, you have to work hard in the future. You can't rely on your father for everything. Besides, you're not qualified at all." After saying that, he left with the little fellow and Wang Jiani. Wang Hongbing felt so wrong that his eyes were burning with anger. Usually it was the Wang family who bullied others. He had never been bullied like this. Seeing the bodyguards lying on the ground, he became more and more angry. He rushed up and kicked them hard. "You're all King useless. Why do I keep you? Get out of here. Get out of here." In his opinion, it was because of his incompetence that he was trampled by this young man. After venting his anger, he fired all the bodyguards. Ma Hong said with a pair of panda eyes, "Honey, I can't take it lying down." Wang Hongbing gritted his teeth and said, "I can't take it lying down either. This guy thinks he can do whatever he wants just because he knows some martial arts. I must let him know how powerful the Wang family is." What should we do? Call the police? Ma Hong asked. Call the police? Are you brainless? Even if you don't think it's shameful, I will. He glared at Ma Hong. The Wang family was taught a lesson by a poor boy, and he still wanted to call the police. If this news spread, he would be unable to live in Jiangnan City. But that boy toy is so powerful that our bodyguards are no match for him. What's so great about knowing a few moves? Our current bodyguards are trash, but our Wang family has money. We can find better bodyguards. Wang Hongbing said, "Now it is said that the bodyguards of Daddy Security Company are very powerful. I will go there now. I must find the best bodyguards and teach this guy a lesson." Qin Haodong didn't know that. He drove away from the art gallery with Wang Jiani. "Where are you going, Mr. Wang?" "I'll take you," Qin Haodong said. "Sorry to trouble you to send me home," Wang Jiani said. "Today is Sunday. Aren't you going out with your boyfriend?" Qin Haodong asked casually. Wang Jiani's expression stiffened, and she didn't say anything. Qin Haodong also noticed her strangeness, but he thought it was her privacy, so he didn't ask more. Soon they arrived at the location that Wang Jiani had mentioned. "Goodbye, teacher." The little fellow waved at Wang Jiani. After greeting the father and daughter, Wang Jiani opened the door and got out of the car. But before she could take a few steps, a figure suddenly jumped out from the side and grabbed her arm. "Smelly whore, I finally found you." Was a young man in his 30s who was dressed in a famous brand suit. He was good-looking, but his frivolous face made people feel uncomfortable. "Dong Chao, why are you here?" Wang Jiani was shocked when she saw the man. "Why am I here? How dare you ask me? You're my wife. Why don't you stay at home? Why are you running around?" Dong Chao glanced at Wang Jiani lecherously. "You must have hooked up with a lot of men these days. You are getting more and more coquettish and your breasts are getting bigger. Let's go. Let me have some fun." Then he grabbed Wang Jiani and dragged her into the building. "Dong Chao, you bastard. Let go of me." Wang Jiani struggled hard, but she was no match for the strong Dong Chao. She was dragged forward for 3 or 4 meters. Finally, she had no choice but to bite Dong Chao's arm. "Pina. Bitch, how dare you bite me?" Dong Chao looked down at his hand, which was bitten and bleeding. He was furious and raised his hand to slap Wang Jiani's face. But before his hand fell, it was caught by someone like an iron pincer and he couldn't move anymore. Dong Chao looked back and saw a young man about 20 years old grabbing his wrist and holding a 4 or 5-year-old girl in his arms. P bad guy, don't bully teacher Wang. P the little fellow shouted at Dong Chao. P Qin Haodong also said coldly, you are a man. How dare you hit a woman? P where did you come from? I'm teaching my wife a lesson. It's none of your business. Get out of here. P Dong Chao struggled for a while, but failed to get rid of Qin Haodong's arm. He was so angry that he let go of Wang Jiani and slapped Qin Haodong's face with his other hand. Pete go to hell. P Qin Haodong shouted coldly and slapped Dong Chao's face. Dong Chao was thrown 3 or 4 meters away and fell to the ground with a thud. Pete great. Great. Bad guy, if you bully teacher Wang again, I'll ask Papa to beat you. He got up from the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't dare to mess with Qin Haodong again. Instead he pointed at Wang Jiani and scolded, you bitch, no wonder you came to Jiangnan City behind my back. It turns out that you have a wild man here and have a child. Ping, watch your mouth or I'll pull all your teeth out. Although Qin Haodong still had a harmonious smile on his face, Dong Chao felt a great chill shrouding him. He couldn't help but tremble with fear. He regretted coming here in such a hurry that he didn't bring his bodyguards with him. Pete toy boy, I'm telling you, I'm from the Dong family in Shanghai. You can't mess with me. Qin Haodong smiled and said, really? I did mess with you. What can you do? Pete boy, don't think that I can't do anything to you in Jiangnan City. Can you tell me about it? Wang Jiani hesitated, but she finally nodded and said, actually I'm married. My husband is this scumbag in front of me. 5 minutes later, Qin Haodong had learned the whole story. It turned out that when Wang Jiani just graduated from college, she met Dong Chao by chance at a dance party. Dong Chao disguised himself very well at that time. He was eloquent, good at dancing and singing. Wang Jiani, who was in love for the first time, was bewitched by his flowery words. Soon she married Dong Chao. But after they got married, she found that Dong Chao was pretending. He was actually a promiscuous man. Not only did he have sex with other women, but he also often took drugs and had promiscuous sex with others. Wang Jiani immediately asked for a divorce, but Dong Chao refused. Besides, the Dong family was very powerful in Shanghai. She couldn't get rid of them at all. In this way she was tortured by Dong Chao. A few months later she was infected with a serious sexually transmitted disease. Later, she took the opportunity to treat her illness and escaped from Shanghai. She hid in Jiangnan and became a kindergarten teacher. It had been more than a year. Wang Jiani had thought that she could get rid of Dong Chao in this way. But she didn't know where the scumbag got the news. He first called Wang Jiani and asked her to go back to Shanghai immediately. It turned out that Dong Chao's call had something to do with Wang Jiani's bad mood in the morning. She didn't expect that Dong Chao would find her in Jiangnan just a few hours later. Qin Haodong sighed secretly. This woman was really childish. The Dong family must have located her location during the call, so they came to find her. Feeling that the woman was so pitiful, Qin Haodong asked, what do you want to do? Wang Jiani wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. There was only silence in her eyes. What else can I do? I want to divorce him but I can't. If there's no other way I can only go back with him. Qin Haodong said, if you really want to get rid of him I can help you. Wang Jiani said, no need. The Dong family is very powerful. You don't need to get into so much trouble because of me. Chapter 80. Big trouble? Qin Haodong glanced at Dong Chao and said with a disdainful smile, it's a piece of cake to deal with such a scumbag. It's not even trouble. Boy, don't be so arrogant. When my cousin comes, you won't even have time to cry. As soon as Dong Chao finished speaking, several SUVs drove over quickly. More than 20 gangsters with steel pipes and machetes jumped out of the cars. The leader had a huge wolf head tattooed on his chest, looking extremely fierce. Cousin, you're finally here. This guy seduced your sister-in-law in public and dared to hit me. You must teach him a lesson. Don't worry. In Jiangnan no one dares to mess with my brothers. Wolf patted Dong Chao's shoulder and said arrogantly, it's so easy to deal with this toy boy. Cousin, tell me what should I do to vent my anger? Dong Chao looked at Qin Haodong and said with a ferocious face, this guy dared to hit me just now. You must destroy his hands. That's easy. Leave it to me. Wolf said and walked towards Qin Haodong. The bad guys are coming. Papa, the bad guys are coming. The little fellow yelled first, but she looked very excited without any fear. She knew that she would not be afraid of any bad guys as long as her papa was here. Toy boy, how dare you mess with my brothers? You must be tired of living. If you know what's good for you, destroy your hands and I'll let you go today. Qin Haodong looked at him and smiled. Ask your bastard cousin to divorce my friend, and then pay 1,000,000 or 800,000 and I can let you go. Wolf's face turned cold. Boy, do you know who you're talking to? Haven't you heard of Brother Wolf in Jiangnan? Qin Haodong said, I haven't heard of Wolf, but I've seen some wild dogs. The little fellow pointed at the tattoo on Wolf's chest and yelled, Dog. What an ugly dog. Boy, you're courting death. Wolf waved his hand and shouted to the gangsters behind him, Brothers, teach this guy a lesson. Yes. The gangsters answered and rushed toward Qin Haodong, waving the weapons in their hands. At this moment, a loud shout came, Stop. I'll kill anyone who dares to touch me. Who the F***ck dares to talk to me like that? Wolf was furious. He turned around and saw more than a dozen black cars parked behind him. The car door opened and 20 or 30 men in black came out. The leader was a bald man 9 meters tall with a ferocious face. He was Dafei Long Haixing's #1 warrior. Wolf was dumbfounded when he saw Dafei. Although he was a well-known gangster in this area, he was far from Long Haixing, the underground controller. He couldn't even afford to provoke Dafei in front of him. But, Brother Dafei, why are you here? Wild Wolf quickly put on a fawning expression, lowered his head and bent his waist to approach Dafei. Bastard, who gave you the courage to fight with Dr. Qin? Don't you know he is Brother Long's distinguished guest? After Dafei finished speaking, he slapped Wolf in the face several times in succession. Most of Long Haixing's affairs were handed over to Dafei, so he had a high position in the minds of these gangsters. Seeing Wolf being beaten, his men were scared into silence and no one dared to say a word. Although Wolf's mouth was bleeding, he didn't dare to show his dissatisfaction. He turned around and said, Brother Dafei, who is Dr. Qin? I really don't know. Was your F***king head kicked by a donkey? This is Dr. Qin. Dafei slapped Wolf twice more and then came to Qin Haodong respectfully. He bowed and said, Dr. Qin, I'm sorry I'm late. This bastard made you angry. He was completely convinced by Qin Haodong's medical skills and ability, and his respect was completely from the heart. Qin Haodong said lightly, It's okay. Do you know this puppy? Puppy? Dafei was slightly stunned and quickly realized that Qin Haodong was talking about Wild Wolf. He hurriedly said, Everyone in the underworld of Jiangnan knows Brother Long. This guy is the same, but he is not very popular, so we rarely meet. After that, he turned around and shouted to Wolf, Hurry up and apologize to Dr. Qin. Wolf was scared out of his wits at this time. As Dafei said, although he had some fame in the Jiangnan underworld, he was not popular at all in Brother Long's eyes. As long as Long Haixing was unhappy, he would be kicked out of the Jiangnan underworld at any time. Dr. Qin, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I was blind and offended you. You don't look like you're apologizing. Kneel down quickly. Dafei said and slapped the back of Wild Wolf's head again. Wild Wolf knelt down on the ground and cursed Dong Chao's ancestors for 18 generations in his heart. If Dong Chao hadn't asked him to come here, he wouldn't have provoked such a big shot. Forget it. Get up. With the little fellow present, Qin Haodong didn't want to argue with Wolf too much. Thank you, Dr. Qin. Thank you, Dr. Qin. Wolf got up from the ground, but his body was bowed and he didn't dare to straighten it. Dong Chao was completely dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? The reinforcements he called actually knelt down in front of him. Qin Haodong pointed to Dong Chao and asked, Is he your relative? Wolf nodded and said, He's a distant cousin. We're not close. I really don't know how this bastard offended Dr. Qin. He couldn't wait to get rid of Dong Chao immediately. Otherwise, he would not be able to survive in the Jiangnan underworld if he really annoyed Brother Long. Qin Haodong said, Forget it. It's not his fault that he didn't know. You ask him to come and talk to me now. Did you hear that? Dr. Qin asked you to come here. Get your ass over here. Wolf turned around and shouted at Dong Chao. He was indeed Dong Chao's distant relative. The Dong family had a great influence in Shanghai, but Dong Chao's family was just a branch of the Dong family, so Wolf was not afraid to offend him. Dong Chao stood there dumbfounded. He wanted to run away, but he didn't think it was possible. He wanted to come over, but he didn't dare to do so when he saw the fierce Dafei. Dafei waved his hand and 2 of his men immediately came over. They grabbed Dong Chao by his collar and took him directly to Qin Haodong. Before he could say anything, Dafei kicked his knee and made him kneel on the ground. Qin Haodong looked at Dong Chao and said, I already know how you cheated Wang Jiani. Now I'll show you the way. Sign the divorce agreement immediately and finish the formalities. Give her 1 million as compensation. No, absolutely not. She's my legal wife. None of you can force me to divorce her. Dong Chao shouted immediately. What the hell are you shouting for? Who are you talking to? Da Fei stepped forward and slapped Dong Chao's face hard. Dong Chao's cheeks were red and swollen, and his mouth was bleeding. Qin Haodong knew it would not be so easy. He turned around and put the little fellow in Wang Jianni's arms. You take her home first. I'll go to you later. Wang Jianni nodded and said nothing. She took the little fellow directly to her home. Qin Haodong knew he had to use some means to make Dong Chao yield, but it was not suitable for the little fellow to see these things. So he asked Wang Jianni to take the little fellow away. He turned around and said to Dong Chao, divorce is a bright path. I think you should agree. No, I don't agree. Dong Chao's cheeks were red and swollen, but he somehow got the courage to answer Qin Haodong directly. It's fine if you don't agree. Then take the second way. Qin Haodong turned around and said to Da Fei, this scumbag has cheated and abducted many innocent women. Is there anyone among your men who is good at castration? Just cut him off so that he won't harm others in the future. Yes, my men have all kinds of talents. Da Fei shouted to a skinny man, Little Five, come here. Hello, Dr. Qin. The man called Little Five greeted him respectfully. He had been taught a lesson at the amusement park that day, so he was convinced by Qin Haodong. Da Fei introduced, Dr. Qin. Little Five's ancestors were all veterinarians. He's good at castrating pigs. Qin Haodong nodded and said, cut him off and send him to the palace to be a eunuch. What can you do for him? Little Five patted his chest and said, don't worry, Dr. Qin. He's no different from an animal. It's only a matter of 2 or 3 minutes. After saying that, he took out a wallet from his back pocket. It was filled with all kinds of shiny knives, sending chills down people's spines. Good. Qin Haodong nodded with satisfaction and said to Da Fei, it's not good to do this on the street. Find a car and let Little Five castrate this guy in it. Seeing the shiny knives in Little Five's hands, Dong Chao was so scared that he collapsed on the ground and could no longer be tough. Da Fei waved his hand and 4 or 5 men immediately came over. They picked up Dong Chao and walked to an off-road vehicle nearby. Qin Haodong said to Little Five, clean your hands? Don't worry, Dr. Qin. I'll definitely cut him clean. Nothing is left. Then Little Five followed Qin Haodong to the off-road vehicle with a strange excitement in his eyes. It seemed that he was very interested in this kind of thing. No wonder he was from a veterinarian family. Dr. Qin, I agree. I agree to divorce. Please spare me. As soon as Little Five jumped on the off-road vehicle, Dong Chao screamed like a pig being slaughtered. At this moment he had no doubt that Qin Haodong would really send him to the palace to be a eunuch. Although he was reluctant to part with Wang Jianni, he could find another woman, but there was only one second master. If he really cut him off, he would never be able to find her again. Qin Haodong sneered and waved his hand to Da Fei. Da Fei immediately asked someone to bring Dong Chao over. At this moment, Dong Chao was so scared that he couldn't walk at all. He was completely dragged here by 2 people. As soon as he approached, he emitted a pungent smell of urine. He was so scared that he wet his pants. I'll find someone to make a divorce agreement now. Sign it right now. Qin Haodong stared at Dong Chao with sharp eyes and said, I'm telling you, you only have one chance. If you dare to play tricks with me, you won't even have the chance to sign the agreement next time. Anyway, cutting you off is safer than that little notebook. Little Five said, Dr. Qin, how about I just cut him off directly? It'll save you a lot of trouble. Dong Chao was so scared that he trembled all over and said quickly, I'll sign it. I'll sign it right now. Qin Haodong said to Da Fei, find a lawyer and make a divorce agreement according to what I said. Ask him to transfer the money now. 1 million yuan, not a cent less. Don't worry, Dr. Qin. It'll be done soon. Da Fei immediately contacted a lawyer and asked Dong Chao to transfer 1 million yuan to his account. Chapter 81. Dong Chao looked at the divorce agreement and then at Little Five, who looked eager. It seemed that Little Five wanted him to go back on his word. He had no choice but to pick up a pen, sign his name on the divorce agreement, and then put his fingerprint on it. Wang Jianni also signed her name and put her fingerprint on it. She held her chest and cried, Bastard, I finally got rid of you. Dong Chao looked at Qin Haodong and said, I've done what you said. Can you let me go now? Qin Haodong smiled and said, When did I say that I would let you go? You set me up. Dong Chao roared angrily. At this time, several policemen came over and handcuffed him. Pinalin Wuxia said, Dong Chao, you're suspected of gathering people to take drugs. Come with us. After the policemen came, Dong Chao became angry. He knew that he would not be cut off again. He shouted at Qin Haodong, Toy boy, wait for me. I won't let you go. Qin Haodong smiled brightly and said, okay, I'll wait for you. Come out first. Pinalin Wuxia waved her hand and two policemen took Dong Chao to the police car and took him away. She pulled Qin Haodong aside and said, you're such a playboy. Why do you always have a woman with you when you make trouble for me? Qin Haodong thought for a while and it seemed to be true. He smiled awkwardly and said, it's a coincidence. It's a pure coincidence. Besides, I'm not making trouble for you. I'm helping you. I guess you'll be promoted soon with me. Pinalin Wuxia snorted. In fact, Qin Haodong was right. She had solved many big cases recently and had been commended several times. She would be promoted soon. She asked again, do you have time tonight? Qin Haodong smiled and said, why? Do you want to invite me to dinner? It's too early. You can do it after you get promoted. You wish. It's my grandpa who wants to see you. If you have time tonight, go to my grandpa's place. Pido, what's up? You'll know when you get there. Pinalin Wuxia also got in the car and left. Thank you, Dr. Qin. Wang Jiani came to Qin Haodong and said gratefully, it's okay. Buy your own house and live a good life. Qin Haodong asked Dafei to transfer 1 million yuan to Wang Jiani, and then followed them to Long Haixing's home. When Qin Haodong arrived at Long Haixing's villa, he and his wife were already waiting at the door. They welcomed him warmly. After entering the room, the little fellow and Long Xiaobao played together. Long Haixing said, Dr. Qin, thank you so much. My son is much better after the last treatment. Qin Haodong took a look at Long Xiaobao. Long Xiaobao had indeed recovered a lot compared to last time. There was a trace of color on his face and short fluffy hair had grown on his head. After chatting for a while, he performed the second treatment on Long Xiaobao. After 20 minutes, he put away the silver needles and said, remember to take the medicine according to the prescription. You will be cured after one more treatment. Chao Ting said gratefully, Dr. Qin, thank you so much. You are the great benefactor of our family. Long Haixing said, Dr. Qin, your business is my business in the future. If you need anything, just tell me. I will do my best. Qin Haodong returned to Lin's villa with the little fellow. When he returned, Lin Momo also got off work. Mommy, I won the first place today. The little fellow rushed to Lin Momo as soon as she saw her. Really? You're great. Mommy will reward you. Lin Momo kissed the little fellow on both cheeks. It could be seen that she was in a very good mood today. The little fellow giggled and said, Mommy, Papa just kissed you here. You ate Papa's saliva? Pita. Lin Momo blushed and looked shyly at Qin Haodong, who was laughing next to her. Mommy, put me down. I have to tell the good news to Mr. Crooked and Damao and Ermao. The little fellow jumped out of Lin Momo's arms and ran into the room. Lin Momo said, thank you. I'm sorry. As a mother, I don't have time to take the little fellow to the competition. Qin Haodong said indifferently, what's wrong with that? I'm Tang Tang's father. It's natural for me to take her to the competition. Lin Momo sighed and said, you're so good to Tang Tang. Sometimes I wonder if Tang Tang's biological father would be as good to her as you are to her. Qin Haodong held Lin Momo in his arms and said, don't bother. I'm Tang Tang's biological father. You're not serious again. Qin Haodong's words were sincere, but in Lin Momo's eyes, it was a kind of confession. She gently punched him in the chest as she said that. Mommy, don't hit Papa. Pat this time, the little fellow ran back with Damao and Ermao. Lin Momo quickly pushed Qin Haodong away shyly. Qin Haodong took her hand and sat down on the sofa. He said, you're in a good mood today. Your work must be going well. Well, it's very good. Speaking of work, Lin Momo's eyes were full of excitement. She said, today our raw gemstone exhibition was full, and the sales reached a new high. However, there was no one in the Feng's group. Originally, some people in the group were gossiping about the raw gemstone exhibition, but these days they have been suppressed and no one dared to say anything. Qin Haodong knew that it was not easy for Lin Momo to be the president. As a woman in charge of such a large group, there must be people who were not convinced, and there would be people who had ulterior motives. If he hadn't set up the Feng's group this time, this raw gemstone exhibition would have definitely become a weapon for those people to attack Lin Momo. He said, that's good. It's estimated that in a few days the Feng's group should be closed. Speaking of this, Lin Momo's face changed a little. She said, although the situation is good now, we can't be too optimistic. I received a message today that a large number of raw gemstones have been shipped from Myanmar to the Fong family. They have arrived. If I'm right, the Fong family will not be willing to fail. They will definitely hold some commercial publicity and promotional activities tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Chin Haodong smiled indifferently. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't work, I'll go to the Fong family again. Lin Momo had already vaguely known that Chin Haodong must have a special way to select raw gemstones. She nodded and said, let's see what happens first. After dinner, Chin Haodong left the Lin family and drove to the military sanatorium. When he arrived at the door, Nalin Wushuang was already waiting there. They went to Nalin Jie's residence together. After entering the room, they saw Nalin Jie sitting on an old-fashioned wooden armchair, and there was a middle-aged man opposite him. The middle-aged man was about 50 years old and had a good look. Although he spoke very respectfully to Nalin Jie, he still could not hide his superior aura. It seemed that he was also an official. Behind the middle-aged man stood a tall young woman. The woman was dressed in black from head to toe, and even her face was covered with a black veil. Only her two big eyes were exposed. Even though the cover was very tight, it was still difficult to hide the woman's excellent figure. The places that should be perky were perky, and the places that should be perky were perky. It was a classic representation of the S-shaped curve. When Chin Haodong saw this woman, he couldn't help frowning. Others might not be able to see anything, but he could clearly feel the strong yin qi on this woman. It was so condensed that it had even reached the level of ghost qi. Seeing Chin Haodong enter the door, Nalin Jie immediately stood up and said enthusiastically, "Little magic doctor, I'm sorry to trouble you again. You're welcome. Just tell me what you want." Chin Haodong was very respectful to Nalin Jie, who had made great contributions to the country and the people. Little divine doctor, this old man is looking for you to borrow your miraculous hands to treat an old subordinate of mine. Nalin Jie said and introduced the middle-aged man behind him to Chin Haodong. This is my guard Shi Kuai, now the head of the Public Security Department of Jiangnan Province. Chin Haodong secretly laughed. It was really fate that made fun of people. In the afternoon he just met the first man of the underground underworld of Jiangnan, and now he met the boss of the white world. Hello Dr. Chin. I've heard a lot about you. Shi Kuai immediately stood up. Although he was now in a high position, he did not dare to put on airs in front of Nalin Jie. He greeted Chin Haodong very politely. Chin Haodong responded politely. After everyone was seated, Nalin Jie said, "Little Shi, tell the little magic doctor about your disease." When I was in the army I was injured in the waist, which led to the dislocation of the vertebrae of my spine. It was because of this that I transferred to the local area. At that time I also read a lot of Chinese and Western medicine, but they all said that the dislocation of my lumbar vertebrae was very sensitive. If the bone was set, it would easily cause paralysis, so they suggested conservative treatment. At that time I was still young and I didn't take this injury seriously, so I got through it. Speaking of this, he sighed, but now I am old and the waist injury is getting more and more serious. Recently the pain is so bad that it has affected my work. I just saw a doctor a few days ago, and the experts in the capital hospital suggested surgery. The risk of surgery is very high, and the possibility of paralysis of the lower limbs is more than 50. If there is no surgery I can only retire early and recuperate at home. I have been busy all my life, and I can't accept to retire at the age of 50. The risk of surgery is great. If I really become paralyzed I will drag down my children, which is not the result I want. Just when I couldn't choose, the old leader said that the little magic doctor's medical skills were superb, and he could definitely cure my waist injury. So I came to Jiangnan City from the provincial capital, in order to trouble the little magic doctor to treat me. Let me see. Chin Haodong asked Shi Kuai to stretch out his wrist and began to feel his pulse. After a while he had felt the injury clearly. Shi Kuai's waist injury was really very serious. The 6th and 7th vertebrae were dislocated because of the injury, and it had been delayed for a long time. Not only the tendons and muscles had been greatly deformed, but also the normal position of the spine had bone spurs. It was very difficult to restore it with ordinary medical skills. Little magic doctor, how is it? Can my injury be healed? Shi Kuai asked. No wonder he was so nervous. If Chin Haodong couldn't cure this disease, then he really had to choose to retire early. Yes. Chin Haodong gently said 2 words, which sounded like a fairyland in Shi Kuai's ears. Even the black-clothed woman behind him showed a trace of emotion in her eyes. If this was said by others he might have doubts. But Qin Haodong had cured Nailan Jie, and also cured many special soldiers who retired because of injuries. This kind of superhuman medical skills was absolutely worthy of his trust. Little magic doctor, when is it convenient for you to treat me? Shi Kuai asked earnestly. Chapter 82. I can do it now. Then Qin Haodong asked Nailan Jie to find a hard wooden bed, and then let Shi Kuai climb on it. He took out the needle belt from his pocket and inserted 9 needles in Shi Kuai's back. Then he put his hands on both sides of the spine and gently massaged it. Through the pulse feeling just now, he had already known the injury of the spine, so the massage technique was extremely accurate. The dislocated spine slowly began to recover to the normal position under the right strength. In the process of recovery, the spine would inevitably be hindered by the deformed tendons and muscles, but these had been sorted out by him with greenwood genuine qi and slowly returned to normal. As for the bone spurs that had grown out, they were quietly shattered into powder by his internal strength, and then dissolved by greenwood genuine qi. Shi Kuai lay on the bed and was surprised. The injured part usually hurt badly even if it was not touched, but now under Qin Haodong's massage, there was no pain at all. What he didn't know was that the 9 silver needles that Qin Haodong had just inserted had completely cut off the nerves of his injured part. Although there was no anesthetic, the effect was 10 times better than that. The whole treatment process took less than 5 minutes. Qin Haodong stood up and put away the 9 silver needles. Well, the spine has been completely restored. Now you can get up and move slowly. But be careful not to take heavy things and do strenuous activities within a week. Shi Kuai sat up from the bed, put on his shoes and slowly stood on the ground. He was surprised to find that the back of his waist did not hurt at all, and it was much easier than before, as if he had removed a 500-kilogram boulder. Little magic doctor, thank you so much, he said and took out a bank card from his pocket. Little magic doctor, there is 100,000 yuan in it. Please accept it. Qin Haodong took the bank card and put it in his pocket. He was a doctor, so he should pay for the treatment. Moreover, he was not very rich now. He said, Grandpa Nailan, is there anything else? If not, I'll go back. Little magic doctor, wait a minute. Before Nailan Jie spoke, Shi Kuai stopped Qin Haodong. What's wrong? Is there anything wrong with you, Director Shi? Qin Haodong asked in surprise. Little miracle doctor, you've misunderstood. I'm feeling great now. Shi Kuai pulled the girl in black behind him and said, Little magic doctor, this is my niece, He Zian. She has a strange disease since she was a child. Please take a look at her. After that, he said to the girl in black, Ziyan, there are no outsiders here. Let Dr. Qin have a look. Ziyan nodded and did not say anything. She began to take off her long dress, leaving only her underwear. As her skin was exposed, several people in the room revealed a look of surprise. Originally, the skin of a girl at this age should be as white as jade, but Ziyan's skin was as black as ink. That kind of color was even darker than black people, and it gave off a very eerie feeling. In the end, Ziyan took off the veil on her face. Everyone was surprised to find that other than the faint golden color between her eyebrows, the skin on her face was as black as ink, just like her body. At this moment, there was a deathly stillness in her eyes. There was not the slightest bit of shyness, nor did she show the slightest bit of peculiarity towards everyone's astonished expressions. Nailan Jie asked in surprise, what the hell is going on? Shi Kuai sighed and said, my niece is also a poor person. When she was a child, she was smart and lovely like other children. Unexpectedly, she suddenly got a strange disease when she was 10 years old. At first, there was only a small black spot on her chest. Everyone thought it was a mole and no one cared about it. Unexpectedly, as she grew older, the little black spot grew bigger and bigger, and finally gradually spread to her whole body. When she was 18 years old, except for her face, other parts of her body became the current color. Nailan Wushuang asked, didn't you go to the hospital for treatment? How could I not go to the hospital? Shi Kuai said, to tell you the truth, my brother-in-law's family is also a big family in the capital. They have very strong connections and financial resources. These years, they have almost seen famous doctors all over the world, but there is no way to cure it. The conclusion given by the major hospitals is very consistent, saying that this is a congenital disease, not a disease. But with the passage of time, this disease has become more and more serious, has begun to spread to the face, and finally has become what it is now. Speaking of this, Shi Kuai looked sad and sighed again and said, "This child is also poor." She was originally lively and cheerful, but now her character has changed greatly because of this strange disease. She stays in the room all day with a computer and doesn't even go out. My sister felt that the child was really pitiful, so she asked her to come to me to relax. I just heard from the old leader that the little magic doctor's medical skills are excellent, so I brought her here, hoping that the little magic doctor can treat her. Qin Haodong understood that Shi Kuai was testing his medical skills while treating him. If he couldn't cure Shi Kuai's waist injury, Qi Weiner wouldn't ask him for treatment later. After all, this strange disease was 10 times more difficult to cure than his waist injury. "Little magic doctor, is there any hope for this disease?" Shi Kuai asked with a longing face. "Let me have a look first." Qin Haodong let Qi Weiner sit on the chair and then began to feel her pulse. As soon as his fingers touched Qi Weiner's pulse, he felt an overwhelming cold air sweeping over. Fortunately, his heart was strong and he forcibly suppressed the cold air back. But then Qin Haodong's expression changed greatly. Qi Weiner's pulse was very weak. If it wasn't for his strong spirit, he couldn't even feel it. She was like a dead person. Soon he took back his hand and Shi Kuai asked nervously, "Little magic doctor, how is it?" Qi Weiner's dead eyes flashed with a touch of light, and she also turned to look at Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong frowned and said, "She is not sick." "Well?" Shi Kuai looked disappointed. Originally, after seeing Qin Haodong's magical medical skills, he thought that his niece finally had hope. He didn't expect that the final result was the same as other doctors, that there was no disease. Qi Weiner's expression didn't change at all, but the light in her eyes disappeared instantly. Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong continued to say, "She is not sick, but has been cast the art of raising ghosts." "What, the art of raising ghosts?" Not only Shi Kuai, but also Nailan Jie and Nailan Wushuang were shocked. Qi Weiner looked at Qin Haodong coldly again. In fact, not only these people were surprised, but even Qin Haodong himself was shocked when he got the result. The art of raising ghosts used to be a common method of the ghost sect in the cultivation world, but this method was too evil and harmful to the harmony of heaven. Later the ghost sect was destroyed by other sects, and this method had disappeared even in the cultivation world. He didn't expect to see it on the earth. "Dr. Qin, what the hell is going on? Please make it clear." Shi Kuai asked eagerly. The art of raising ghosts is a kind of evil method in the Xianmen. First, the ghost fetus is cultivated by extremely evil means, and when the ghost fetus is mature, it will find a suitable mother body and implant it. The selection condition of the mother body is very strict. It must be a woman with Yin attribute and she must be a virgin. It takes a total of 10 years for the ghost fetus to mature. When it matures, it will instantly devour all the consciousness of the mother body and become the ghost slave of the caster. Hearing this, Nailan Wushuang got goosebumps all over her body and asked, "What is the purpose of such an evil method?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course there are benefits. Once the ghost is successfully raised, the ghost slave is absolutely loyal to the master, and its strength is very strong. It can reach the level of human internal strength warriors. Moreover, the growth of the ghost slave is extremely fast, and it can reach the realm of supreme power within 3 years. Think about it, if a cultivator from an evil sect could control a few of these ghost slaves, how powerful would he be?" He said these with reference to the art of raising ghosts of the ghost sect in the cultivation world. In the cultivation world, once the ghost slave is formed, it can reach the level of Zhuji, and after 3 years, it can form the ghost elixir. If it is cultivated by other evil methods, the time can be shortened. It takes at least decades or even hundreds of years for a normal human cultivator to form the gold elixir, but it becomes much easier with the ghost slave, so some people take the risk to cultivate the evil method. Nailan Jie couldn't help but gasp. The supreme power is absolutely the supreme existence of the warriors, and its identity is extremely respected. If people with such strength can be slaves, it is unimaginable. Shi Kuai asked with a frightened face, "Little magic doctor, do you mean that Xian has been planted a ghost fetus?" "It must be so." Qin Haodong said, "Think about it, did she contact the weird evil cultivator 10 years ago?" Shi Kuai said, 10 years ago? It's too long, I have to think about it." "There's no need to think about it. 10 years ago on my birthday an old Taoist once told my fortune. From then on there was a little black dot on my chest. That old Taoist should be the person who planted the ghost fetus in me." This was the first time that Qi Weiner spoke after entering the room. Although her voice was cold, it was very clear. She turned to look at Qin Haodong. "How long do I have?" Only the last mud pill palace of your whole body has not been swallowed by the ghost fetus, which is the golden spot between your eyebrows. But if I'm not wrong, there should not be much time left, about 2 or 3 days. Chi Weiner said, the day after tomorrow is my 20th birthday, it should be that day. Shi Kuai was shocked when he heard it. He quickly pulled Qin Haodong and said, little magic doctor, do you have any way? You must save her. Qin Haodong sighed. If he still had the cultivation of his previous life, he could easily kill this ghost fetus. But now his cultivation was too low, and he had not finished the Zhuji phase. It was really difficult to deal with this kind of ghost fetus. If he had to kill the ghost fetus in Chi Weiner, he had to use the talisman. He had to wait for a Dharma artifact, and this was not a 100% guarantee. He said, I have a breakthrough in the way, but I can't guarantee a 100% cure, only 50% hope. Well, Shi Kuai hesitated. He was just Chi Weiner's uncle, not her parents. It was not good for him to make a decision on behalf of others when there was only half hope. No problem, I'm willing to accept Dr. Qin's treatment. Chi Weiner agreed. She said, but I have a condition. Qin Haodong looked at her and said, what is it? Tell me. Chapter 83. Qin Haodong smiled bitterly and said, I can promise, but I can only try my best. He was very clear that if the treatment failed and the ghost fetus could not be expelled from Chi Weiner's body, once it became a ghost slave, it could reach the cultivation of covert power. But he had not completed the Zhuji phase and was still in the 9th level of overt power. He was not sure that he could kill this master of covert power. I believe you, Chi Weiner said. Well, but there is no treatment now. You go back with me first, I have to do some preliminary preparations. The situation in front of him did not allow him to make a choice, so he had to make every possible effort. But if he wanted to expel the ghost fetus, he had to carve the talisman first. It's okay. I'll go with you. Chi Weiner said without hesitation. Seeing that she agreed, Shi Kuai naturally could not say anything more. Qin Haodong said goodbye to Nailan Jie and returned to his home with Chi Weiner. Chi Weiner had very few things with her. She had nothing except a laptop. Qin Haodong asked, do you particularly like using computers? Yes. Chi Weiner nodded and said, since I got this strange disease, I have been looked down upon by too many people at school. Later I simply dropped out of school and did not go to school anymore. My family prepared a computer for me to study and entertain at home. One day I accidentally came into contact with computer hacking technology. Maybe it's because I look dark, I am very talented in hacking technology. Speaking of this, she laughed at herself and continued, in real life I can do nothing about my strange disease, but in the internet world, I am an omnipotent king. 3 years ago, I ranked first among the underground hackers. As long as I want, I can treat any website in the world as my own backyard at any time. When it came to the field she was good at, her originally dead eyes flashed with excitement. Qin Haodong was slightly surprised. He did not expect that the little girl who was trapped by the disease in front of him had such a superhuman achievement in the field of hacking. Then he had an idea. Daddy's security company could be said to be full of talents, but there was no good one in the field of computers. If he could recruit Chi Weiner to his security company, it would be absolutely suitable. But this was all in the future. The urgent thing was to cure her ghost fetus. It was midnight. Qin Haodong chose a guest room for Qi Wan and went back to rest. After getting up the next day, Qin Haodong found that the golden light in Qi Wan's mud pill palace had been swallowed a little more. It had changed from the size of a 1 yuan coin to the size of a dime coin. If he didn't get rid of the ghost fetus as soon as possible, it would only take him 1 or 2 days to completely demonize and become a ghost slave. He asked Lin Momo to send the little fellow to the kindergarten. As a healthcare doctor, he was absent from work again today. After breakfast, Qin Haodong left home. He wanted to buy some cinnabar and yellow paper to make talismans to suppress the ghost fetus. Very quickly, he bought all the materials needed to draw talismans in a sundry shop. However, when he looked at these items, he smiled bitterly in his heart. With his current cultivation, how many powerful talismans did he have? He couldn't even inscribe it. How could he rely on some ordinary talismans? He didn't have the confidence to subdue the ghost fetus in Qi Wan's body. It would be great if he could have a few powerful magic tools. That way his chances of success would be much higher. However, in today's society, it was really too difficult to buy magic tools. Where could one go to buy them? He walked along the road while thinking. Suddenly he saw an antique street. Let's go inside and have a look. Maybe I'm lucky enough to find a suitable magic tool. Thinking of this, Qin Haodong walked into the antique street. As the saying goes, gold in troubled times, antiques in prosperous times. Now Wuxia was peaceful and prosperous, and people were more and more interested in antiques. In addition, several treasure appraisal programs had been launched by TV stations recently, which further encouraged the popularity of the antique market. Although it was not a weekend today, the antique market was still crowded. Some people came here to look around and see if they could be lucky enough to find some leftover items. Some people brought the pots and jars left by their ancestors here to try their luck, dreaming of getting rich overnight. In fact, the chance of this kind of thing was not much higher than winning 5 million yuan. Qin Haodong could feel along the way that 99% of the antiques on the market were fake. Occasionally, one or two with some spiritual qi were expensive. It was impossible to find leftover objects. However, these were not what he cared about. What he wanted to find was a magic tool that could be used. However, it was obvious that this thing was more difficult to find than antiques. He had walked half of the street, but he still had no clue. He had seen some things like compasses, horsetail whisks, peachwood swords and so on, but they were modern handicrafts without any spiritual qi at all. As he was walking forward, suddenly a middle-aged man in his 40s came over and said, "Little brother, are you looking for something? Do you need my help?" Qin Haodong looked at the middle-aged man and waved his hand. "No need." But the middle-aged man did not give up. He followed him and said, "Little brother, you may not know me. My name is Niuer, and I am a famous appraiser on this antique street. I have been here for more than 10 years. I know exactly what treasure someone has. As long as you tell me what you want, I will take you there immediately and I won't charge you a penny. What do you think? Appraiser?" Qin Haodong looked at Niuer and smiled. He thought that people who led donkeys nowadays were keeping up with the times. He even gave himself such a lofty name. After thinking about it, Niuer must be very familiar with this antique street anyway. It was better to listen to his introduction than to wander around. Anyway, with the experience of Emperor Greenwood for more than 500 years, it was impossible for these people to cheat money. Niuer had always led donkeys to cheat money for a living. It was his specialty to observe people's words and expressions. He immediately saw that Qin Haodong was tempted, so he hurriedly said, "Little brother, you have to believe in my eyes. As long as you follow me, you will not only not go the wrong way to buy treasures, but also won't buy fake goods." Qin Haodong said, "Well, since brother Niuer is so enthusiastic, please help me." Niuer said repeatedly, "No trouble, no trouble. I am the kindest person and love to help others. I have been in a bad situation recently. I want to buy some old things like peachwood swords to drive away evil spirits at home. Do you know any place that has them? Let's make it clear in advance that I don't want those things from the assembly line." After Qin Haodong said that, Niuer immediately patted his chest and said, "Little brother, you have found the right person for this. I know a shop that has a good peachwood sword. I heard that it was used by Zhang Daoling, the founder of the Tianshi sect. The shop owner's family has been in trouble recently, and he is in urgent need of money. Otherwise he would be reluctant to sell it." The peachwood sword used by Zhang Daoling? Of course, Qin Haodong didn't believe it, but he had no goal anyway, so it didn't matter if he followed him to have a look. After that, Niuer led the way and took Qin Haodong to the antique street. Qin Haodong's spirit was so powerful that he immediately noticed that there were 2 or 3 people in the crowd following him. It seemed that these donkey guides were really professional and had a tacit understanding with each other. Soon, Niuer took Qin Haodong into an antique shop called Jubiozai. The shop looked very big and there were all kinds of antiques in it. However, Qin Haodong glanced at them and found that they had no spiritual qi at all. All of them were fake. The shop owner was a fat man who weighed more than 200 kilograms. When he saw Qin Haodong, he immediately greeted him warmly, "Little brother, what do you need? There are many treasures in our shop. We have all kinds of good things. I have the rice bowl used by Emperor Qin, the teacup used by Li Shimin, and even the urinal used by Empress Dowager Cixi." Before Qin Haodong could speak, Niuer said first, "Fatty Wang, put away your tricks. This is my friend. Don't play those tricks to fool laymen." "Your friend? Why didn't you say so earlier? Then we are all family." Fatty Wang put on a very cooperative look and said, "Little brother, what do you want? Since you are Niuer's friend, you are my friend too. I don't care about the price and I guarantee that you can buy the real thing." Niuer said, "Little brother, you want to buy something to ward off evil spirits. Where is your peachwood sword used by Zhang Daoling? Show it to me quickly." Fatty Wang immediately put on a troubled expression. "No heir, to be honest, a few days ago my family was in urgent need of money, so I took out that sword to sell, but now that it's over, I don't want to sell it anymore." Qin Haodong knew that he didn't need to speak at this time. He just needed to watch their performance quietly. "Sure enough," Niur said indignantly, "Fatty Wang, you have to pay attention to integrity in business. How can you go back on your words when you said you would sell it? Besides, little brother is here. You can show it to others. Maybe they won't like it at all. While you wait, I'll get it." Fatty Wang put on a painful look, turned into the inner room, and soon took out a long object wrapped in yellow cloth. He carefully put the thing in his hand on the counter, then opened the yellow cloth, revealing a bronze peachwood sword. This peachwood sword was about 2.5 feet long, with a dull color and simple patterns. It looked absolutely very old from the appearance. The handle of the wooden sword was engraved with the traditional characters of Taoist master. Qin Haodong took the peachwood sword in his hand and looked at it. He secretly admired that these people were really good at making old things. If it weren't for the fact that there was no spiritual qi on the peachwood sword, he would really suspect that it was an unearthed old thing. But now it was clear that this thing was a high-end fake. He instantly lost interest in playing with it and put the peachwood sword back on the counter. Niur said, "Little brother, what do you think? This peachwood sword is definitely a good thing used by Zhang Daoling. Its magic power is boundless. Everything will go well at home." "I'm not interested. I'll look at it again." Qin Haodong knew a little about the rules of the antique circle. If he didn't like it, he could not buy it, but he couldn't say that it was a fake. Niur turned to Fatty Wang and said, "Give me a real price. If you can, I'll take it away. If not, you can take it home and keep it." Well. Fatty Wang said with a painful expression, "To tell you the truth, this peachwood sword is something from the soil. I bought it from those people for 30,000 yuan. If you like it, you can take it away for 30,000 yuan without earning a penny. Little brother, what do you think?" "I can assure you that Fatty Wang's price is absolutely fair." Qin Haodong smiled and shook his head. He didn't want it for 30 yuan, let alone 30,000 yuan. Chapter 84. "Well, it's fate that we meet. You can have a look if you want," Fatty Wang said and sent the peach sword to the old man in the tang suit. "Good stuff, this is really good stuff." The old man picked up the peach sword with a surprised face. He looked like an old bachelor who had never seen a woman in his life and suddenly saw a naked beauty. Qin Haodong secretly praised him. It was true that there were masters in every field. This old man was definitely the best in the donkey leading industry. Why did he do this with such good acting skills? If he went to act, he would have taken the little golden man home. Of course, the old man didn't know that Qin Haodong had seen through his trick and continued his performance. "Boss, this is a good thing for guarding the house from evil. I can see that it's an old thing. Tell me how much it is. I want it." Fatty Wang said with embarrassment, "Brother, you're late. This little brother has already taken a fancy to this sword." "Hasn't he paid yet?" "It's not late if he hasn't paid yet." The old man said aggressively, "Tell me, how much does he pay? I'll add 1,000. Fatty Wang glanced at Qin Haodong and said, "I'll bid 30,000 for this little brother." The old man said, "Such a good thing is only 30,000 yuan. It's not expensive at all. I'll pay 31,000. Niur was unhappy next to him. He stared at him and said, "Fatty Wang, although you are a businessman, you can't be greedy for money. According to the rules, there should be a first come, first served rule. This little brother saw it first. You can't sell it to others." "Well." Fatty Wang gritted his teeth and said to the old man, "Well, although you pay 1,000 yuan more, I still can't sell it to you. After all, it's the little brother who saw it first." Qin Haodong didn't speak all the time. He just looked at them with a smile. He was not in a hurry to leave now. He wanted to see how these people could act. Fatty Wang and others were obviously veterans in the industry. They had done this kind of thing many times. Although Qin Haodong didn't say anything, they didn't panic or discouraged at all. The old man continued, "Boss, you're wrong. The highest bidder gets it first. How about I give you another 1,032,000 yuan to sell it to me?" After their noise, more and more people came to the shop to watch. At this time, another old Taoist came in. The old Taoist was not young. His hair and beard were all white, but his face was very ruddy. He looked like a sage. When he saw the peach sword, his eyes suddenly lit up. He walked quickly to the counter and grabbed the peach sword. Fatty Wang immediately cried, "Old Taoist, old Taoist, old Taoist, old Taoist, old Taoist, old Taoist, I finally found it." However, the old Taoist did not care at all. He grabbed the peachwood sword with an excited expression and tears in his eyes. The ancestors of the Celestial Master sect have finally found it. Old Taoist, this Taoist, old Taoist, you, he said. Taoist, this is. The old Taoist priest put the peachwood sword back on the counter and said excitedly, Boss, I'm the 87th generation successor of the Tianshi sect. This sword is the peachwood sword that ancestor Zhang Daoling used to subdue demons. Unfortunately, it was lost for many years. Now I finally found it. How much are you pay for this? I must buy it back to the Celestial Master sect for the disciples to admire. The old man immediately said discontentedly, Old Taoist, everything is first come, first served. I came here first. You can't rob me. The old Taoist said solemnly, but this is the treasure of our Taoist sect. I must buy it. Niuer immediately cried, Don't rob me. My little brother saw this peach sword first. You all stand back. No, I must buy this sword. I can pay more. This is the treasure of our Taoist sect. I must buy it back no matter how much it costs. Both the old man and the old Taoist showed an expression that they would not give up until they reached their goal. Finally, Fatty Wang said with a helpless expression, Since everyone has seen this sword, it means that we are all predestined people. Well, you three bid to buy it. After all, I am also a businessman. Whoever pays the highest price will get the sword. But the little brother came here first. If I sell it to the little brother at the same price, do you have any objection? I have no objection. Anyway, I must buy this treasure today. The old man took the lead. I have no objection either. If I don't bring this sword back to the Taoist sect, I will be sorry to the ancestors of the sect. The old Taoist also spoke righteously and passionately. Seeing that these people were so engrossed in the performance, Qin Haodong felt that if he didn't cooperate with them, he would be sorry for their enthusiasm, so he said, Well, I have no objection. Fatty Wang's eyes flashed with complacency. He thought to himself, Boy, you are pretending to be calm. Finally, you still fall into my trap. He said, Now the base price is 30,000 yuan. Whoever pays the highest price will take it away. I pay 32,000 yuan? The old man was the first to shout. I pay 33,000 yuan? The old Taoist did not show weakness. 35,000 yuan, 38,000 yuan, the old Taoist and the old man shouted higher and higher prices, but Qin Haodong just watched quietly and did not participate in the bidding. The old Taoist and the old man were waiting for Qin Haodong to shout out the price, and then they would withdraw together. At that time, Qin Haodong would have to buy it. Unexpectedly, they acted so well, but the young man never bid, which made them unable to stop and could only keep raising the price. In the blink of an eye, the price had reached 50,000 yuan, but Qin Haodong still watched quietly and did not intend to participate in the bidding. This made Fatty Wang's eyes flashed a little anxiously, and he gave Niuer next to him a look. Niuer immediately understood and said to Qin Haodong, Little brother, it's almost time. You didn't listen to me just now, or you would have bought it for 30,000 yuan. Now you can't miss the opportunity, or it will be too late to regret. Well, if you don't listen to others, then I will bid once. Qin Haodong said with a smile, I pay 100,000 yuan. As soon as he said that, all the people present were surprised, but Fatty Wang's face flashed with unconcealable joy. He didn't expect that he could kill a big fat sheep with a broken sword today. Some experienced guests had already seen that there was something fishy about it. They couldn't help shaking their heads secretly, thinking that the young man was so gullible that he lost 100,000 yuan in this way. Niuer was also very happy and felt that the play should end now. He said, I tell you too, if you know what's good for you, quit quickly. You can't compete with the little brother. It seemed that he was helping Qin Haodong to speak, but in fact, it was a signal that their gang had made an appointment in advance. As long as Niuer said so, the old man and the old Taoist should quit. At that time, Fatty Wang would sell the sword to Qin Haodong, even if he didn't want to buy it. Up to now, everything was perfect, but no one thought that the old man and the old Taoist seemed to be into the play and had no intention of quitting at all. The old man cried, In your dreams. This kind of good treasure must be bought home as a family treasure. I pay 110,000 yuan. This is the treasure of our Celestial Master sect. It must not be bought by outsiders. I pay 120,000 yuan. While speaking, a crazy look flashed in the old Taoist's eyes. Fatty Wang was so angry that he gritted his teeth secretly. He thought to himself, These two idiots, what if the price is too high and the fat sheep is scared away? Fortunately, Qin Haodong didn't let him down for too long. He cried again, "I pay 200,000 yuan." There was an uproar among the onlookers. Was this young man a fool? He didn't buy it when it was 30,000 yuan, but now he bid 200,000 yuan. Was this the legendary foolishness? Niuer was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. He quickly winked at the old Taoist and the old man and asked them to stop. Fatty Wang cried eagerly, "This little brother bids 200,000 yuan, then this sword." But before he finished speaking, the old Taoist shouted, "I pay 300,000 yuan. This belongs to our celestial master sect. It must be taken back." After he shouted this, Fatty Wang and Niuer immediately had an impulse to rush up and beat him to death. It was 200,000 yuan, but he still raised it to 300,000 yuan at once. Was he crazy? Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Since you are so sincere, I will quit. The thing is yours." After he finished speaking, the bodies of the old Taoist and the old man shook slightly and they woke up from the mind manipulating. Qin Haodong did not erase their memories, so the two of them remembered what had just happened clearly. Fatty Wang didn't know this. He was so angry that he was trembling. The two idiots had directly ruined such a good business. Now not only the money was gone, but the problem was how to continue the show. The fat sheep had officially announced that it would not buy it. The peach sword was going to be sold to the old Taoist, but how could he have so much money? But if they didn't pay, their show would be exposed, and the whole antique industry would know that they were leading a donkey to cheat people. Qin Haodong smiled at the old man and said, "Sir, do you still want it? If you want it, hurry to increase the price. It's a pity to lose such a good treasure." The old man quickly shook his head like a rattled drum. "No, I don't want it." It was a joke. The price had reached 300,000 yuan. How could he dare to continue to bid? The old Taoist was completely dumbfounded. He just had an impulse to think that he was the successor of the Taoist sect. He must buy the sword back, so he kept increasing the price. Now that the impulse had passed, where could he get 300,000 yuan? Qin Haodong said to him with a smile, "Taoist, this is the treasure of your Taoist sect. Hurry up to pay and take it back." The old Taoist suddenly couldn't speak. He didn't even have 300 yuan in his pocket, let alone 300,000 yuan. Qin Haodong's face darkened. "Taoist, are you teasing us because you have no money?" Some busybodies in the crowd also shouted, pay quickly." The old Taoist said with embarrassment, "Well, I'm sorry, I came out in a hurry and forgot to bring money. I'll buy it tomorrow." After that, he turned his head and was about to walk out of the store, but was pulled back by Qin Haodong and then slapped in the face. "Stinky old Taoist, you ruined the boss's business. I must teach you a lesson today." After that, he slapped the old Taoist's face. After a few slaps, even his beard and eyebrows were all knocked off. Everyone saw clearly that the old Taoist was fake. It seemed that he was about 30 years old. Fatty Wang, Niuer and others were stunned. They never dreamed of such a scene. Seeing their companions being beaten, they didn't know whether to help or not. In such a short time, Qin Haodong had slapped the fake old Taoist more than a dozen times. It was very refreshing. He stood up, turned to Fatty Wang and said, "Boss, this guy pretended to be an old Taoist and disturbed your business. Do you want to beat him?" That's the end of today's update. Here are the comments on the shelf. Daddy Doctor has written nearly 300,000 yuan. From the beginning of the next chapter, it will be on the shelf. Here I solemnly thank you for your support for a long time. Black Beer is an honest person. Before the book is published, he would like to say 3 words to his readers. First sentence. In the age of online literature, readers are the creators of good works. Without the support of readers, a full-time writer like Black Beer would not be able to keep himself fed, nor would he have the motivation to improve the quality of his work. Second sentence. Black Beer has to sit in front of the computer for more than 10 hours every day from morning to night. He also has to overcome dizziness, dry eyes and cervical spondylosis. It's really not easy, but it only costs a few cents to subscribe. Here, with tears in my eyes, I implore my readers to support the original book. Your subscription is the biggest support for Black Beer. At the same time, I would like to clarify that the original version of this book is on the internet. Only subscriptions from Zongheng are supporting Black Beer. Subscriptions from other websites are invalid. At the same time, I can't see the comments. Third sentence. In order to repay everyone's support for Black Beer from today on, there will be 3 chapters every day. Unless there are special circumstances, there will be no less than 10,000 words. The next chapter will be a VIP chapter. Everyone prepare your subscriptions and monthly tickets. Black beer is looking at you pitifully. Love your super refreshing black beer. Chapter 85. Fatty Wong couldn't beat his own people. He said embarrassedly, "Forget it. Peace makes money. Peace makes money. Feels really good. It's a pity not to beat him." Qin Haodong grabbed the collar of the fake old Taoist and shouted to the onlookers, "Is there anyone who is in a bad mood? You can come here to vent your anger. It's a free vent." Damn liar, beat him to death. 4 or 5 young people immediately rushed up from the crowd and punched and kicked the fake old Taoist. The fake old Taoist couldn't stand it anymore. He hurriedly asked Fatty Wong and Niuer for help. "Second brother, brother-in-law, help me. I'm going to be beaten to death." Fatty Wong and Niuer were shocked. They didn't expect that the fake old Taoist would find them so easily. They hurriedly cried, "Don't talk nonsense. We don't know you. Bastard, you don't even help me." The fake old Taoist was beaten to crawl on the ground. He turned his head and shouted to the old man next to him, "Dad, they don't care about me. You have to care about me. If you beat me to death, you will have no descendants." At this time, people finally figured out that these 4 people were all in a group and set up a trap here to cheat people. Beat him, these damn liars. Beat them to death. Liars will die a horrible death. There was a rule in the antique circle, that is, you can't return a fake one. If you buy a fake one, you can only blame yourself. Everyone knew this. But it was their own business to make a mistake. If they set up a trap to cheat people of money, they would be hated. Therefore, Fatty Wong and others immediately aroused public anger when they set up a trap. Among the onlookers, some had suffered losses from liars and really hated liars. Some were just joking and taking advantage of them. Whatever the reason, it didn't prevent them from rushing to Fatty Wong and Niuer, punching and kicking them. They were very happy. Qin Haodong took a look at the chaotic scene with a smile. It was ridiculous that these people wanted to set up a trap to cheat him. They were asking for trouble. In the chaos, he left Fatty Wong's shop and continued to walk along the antique street. He left, but the people here did not stop. In a flash, Niuer and others were beaten black and blue. Fortunately, the security guards of the antique street came in time and persuaded these people to leave. Otherwise, Fatty Wong's antique shop would be smashed. After these people left, Fatty Wong hurriedly closed the door of the shop. Only then did he feel relieved. He turned around and said angrily to the old man and the fake old Taoist, "Did you King get kicked in the head by a donkey? You are the ones leading the donkey, how did you become a donkey?" Niuer, with a pair of panda eyes, also shouted angrily, "That's right. When that fat sheep bid 100,000, you should have withdrawn, and we would have succeeded. Who knew that you 2 idiots would still raise the price?" The fake old Taoist priest said with a bitter face, "I don't know what happened either. I might have had a cramp in my head at that time. I just felt that this peachwood sword was the most precious treasure of the Tianshi sect and I had to buy it." The old man also said, "I was the same at the time. I thought it was a big treasure and I had to buy it no matter how much it cost. Maybe we've cheated too many people and we've been too engrossed in our acting." "Engrossed my ass. Damn it, you and your father are both stupid. You didn't earn the money in your hands and I was beaten like a grandson because of you." The more Fatty Wong said, the angrier he became. He raised his foot and kicked the fake old Taoist priest and the old man who had just got up to the ground again. Niuer pulled the angry Fatty Wong and advised, "Forget it, we have been cooperating for so many years and we are all relatives. Let's forget it." "No, I can't swallow it. I must find a way to teach that little white face a lesson." Fatty Wong gasped and said. The old man got up from the ground again and said, "Yes, we have worked for so many years, and we have never suffered such a big loss. Today we must make that guy pay some blood." The fake old Taoist priest said to Niuer, "Second brother, you have the most ideas. Think of a way to deal with that guy." Niuer blinked his small eyes and said, "It's easy to deal with this guy. Since he doesn't fall into our trap, let's blackmail him." Fatty Wong had calmed down at this time. He thought for a moment and said, "Blackmail is a good way, but we can't show up now. Call Lao San. There are not many people on this street who know him. It's best to let him do it." His idea was approved by everyone. Niuer made a phone call, and soon a man in his 30s with a flat top came to the shop. He was Lao San, who had just been mentioned by Fatty Wong, and was also a member of their fraud gang. Fatty Wong briefly told Lao San what happened today and then said, "You go and teach that guy a lesson. Be sure to make him pay some blood or we can't swallow it." "Don't worry, big brother. I'm the best at blackmail. Lao San picked up a porcelain vase next to him and turned to leave. Niur grabbed him and said, San, that guy is very clever. The vase is too big a target. It may not be easy to get it. You can change something else. Lao San asked, Second brother, what do you think is appropriate? Niur said to Fatty Wang, You find a smaller one for San, one that looks high grade but is actually worthless. Fatty Wang thought for a moment and said, Yes, the broken mirror you collected last time has been there for half a year and no one wants it. Let's take it. After saying that, he took out an ancient mirror from under the counter. The mirror was about the size of a palm, and there was a handle about 10 centimeters long at the back. It looked very old and bronze-colored, but the material did not seem to be copper. Niur said, Fatty, why did you give up this mirror? Maybe a good thing. Bullshit. You bought it for 50 yuan, and I spent 100 yuan for half a year to sell it. How can it be a good thing? Fatty Wang was obviously very resentful of this mirror. The old man said, Lao Air, you've seen it this time. We've asked many experts to see it, but they can't see what it is. It's perfect to blackmail someone. That's right. I'm upset when I look at it. Fatty Wang said as he put the mirror on the ground and kicked it. A large piece of the mirror immediately deflated with a poochie sound. He picked it up again and gave it to Lao San. Take it. Use this thing and go. We must make sure that the kid is ruthlessly killed. Don't worry, big brother. I'll make that guy pay a lot. Lao San said as he put the mirror in his arms and turned to leave the antique shop. Qin Haodong still walked along the antique street and looked at several shops in a row, but he did not find a decent magic weapon. At this time, two men came to him. The one in front was about 50 years old. He obviously hadn't shaved for several days. He looked very old and sad. Behind him was a strong young man in his 20s, holding an incense burner about 20 centimeters in diameter in his arms. They came to the antique shop in front of Qin Haodong. After entering the door, the middle-aged man asked, Boss, do you accept the incense burner? Of course. The owner of the shop was a thin old man in his 60s with a goatee. His small eyes were not big but they were flickering. How much is it? The middle-aged man asked. The old man smiled and said, Big brother, you're a layman. This is an antique shop, not cabbages. How much you pay depends on your things. If they are really good things, I can pay you millions. If they are junk, I don't want them. The middle-aged man turned to the young man and said, Son, let the boss see our incense burner. The young man agreed and sent the incense burner in his arms to the boss. It was an iron three-legged incense burner with a diameter of about 20 centimeters. The surface of the incense burner was not special. The craftsmanship was rough. It seemed that it had been buried underground for a long time. It was not very clean. There was some fresh soil on it. It was not only lusterless but also rusty. It looked very bad. The boss walked around the incense burner and kept shaking his head. It's not an antique at all. It's not valuable at all. At most, it can be sold for a few kilograms of pig iron. Qin Haodong's eyes lit up when he saw it. The incense burner did not look good, but the spiritual qi coming out of it was rich. It was definitely a good thing. The middle-aged man cried unwillingly, How is it possible? This is a good thing left by my grandfather. I heard that my great-grandfather hid it underground to avoid the Japanese. Before my grandfather died, he repeatedly told me that this incense burner should be passed down as a family heirloom. If it weren't for the child's mother being ill and hospitalized, I wouldn't have dug it up and sold it. The shopkeeper burst into laughter. When he was done laughing, he said, Are you here to tell me a story? Not to mention that it was left by your grandfather, even if it was left by your ancestors, it's just something made of iron and copper. How much can it be worth? The young man asked, Boss, how much do you think you can pay? My mother is really in the hospital and she needs money urgently. The boss stretched out a finger and said, 100 yuan. I don't want more. What? 100 yuan? This is our family heirloom. I won't sell it for less than 100,000 yuan. The middle-aged man immediately widened his eyes and looked quite unwilling. However, after he finished speaking, even the onlookers laughed. 200 or 300 yuan was already a sky-high price for such an iron incense burner. Who would pay 100,000 yuan for such a thing? The shop owner also laughed sinisterly. After laughing, he said, I don't care if someone in your family is dead or sick, this thing is worthless. I'm already being very kind by giving you 100 yuan. If you want to sell it, you can stay. If not, you can move out. A flash of despair flashed across the middle-aged man's face. He cried with excitement, No, I must sell it for 100,000 yuan, or it won't be enough to treat my child's mother. You're really out of your mind. The boss said with a sarcastic face, even if your whole family dies, this thing will never be sold for 100,000 yuan. If anyone wants to pay for it, I'll call him father. After he said this, someone in the crowd was unhappy. If the boss doesn't want to buy it, just say it. He is also in urgent need of money for treatment. Why are you so mean? That's right. Why don't you have any sympathy at all? In the face of so many accusations, the boss did not feel guilty at all. On the contrary, he looked angry. His beard twitched and he said, I'm a businessman, not a philanthropist. If you are kind, you can buy it. I mean what I say. As long as someone pays 100,000 yuan for this rotten thing, I'll immediately call him father. In his opinion, this iron incense burner was not even an antique. It could only be sold as scrap iron. Even a fool would not pay 100,000 yuan for such a thing. Chapter 86. The onlookers only condemned the shop owner out of sympathy for the father and son. No one thought that someone would really pay 100,000 yuan to buy the iron censer. They looked at the source of the voice and saw a young man in his 20s striding to the middle-aged father and son. Young man, do you really want to buy it? Are you kidding me? The middle-aged man asked incredulously. The shop owner was stunned at first and then he said sarcastically, You're really stupid. Of course he's kidding. No one will pay 100,000 yuan to buy your thing. Qin Haodong didn't bother to pay attention to this guy who had been swallowed by money. He said directly to the middle-aged man, Of course it's true, but I don't have cash. Give me an account number and I'll transfer the money now. Everyone's eyes widened. They didn't expect this young man to be serious. After the father and son were stunned for a moment, the son, who was holding the incense burner, immediately took out a bank card from his pocket. Little brother, this is my card. As long as you transfer 100,000 yuan to me, this incense burner is yours. Qin Haodong didn't hesitate at all. He took the bank card and directly made a call to transfer 100,000 yuan from Shikuahai. After hesitating for a moment, he transferred the remaining 80,000 yuan to the other party's account. Judging from the rich spiritual qi, this censer was definitely a treasure. Even if he paid 180,000 yuan, it was still a great deal. After the transfer, the young man's cell phone rang twice, indicating that the money had been transferred. The young man checked his cell phone and was shocked. He quickly said to Qin Haodong, Young man, you transferred it to the wrong person. We only need 100,000 yuan. You transferred 180,000 yuan. Qin Haodong said, Yes, it's worth 180,000 yuan. That's all I have, or I'll give you more. No, we only need 100,000 yuan. The middle-aged man turned to his son and said, Hurry up and transfer the extra money back to him. Qin Haodong quickly stopped him and said, No, the extra money can be used to buy some tonics for the patient. Well, seeing that Qin Haodong was serious, the father and son were moved to tears. Young man, you're really a good man. Thank you so much. Qin Haodong said, You're welcome. I bought your things with money. We don't owe each other anything. My phone number is on the transfer just now. If you have any difficulties in the future, you can come to me again. Although he said so, the father and son still bowed deeply to Qin Haodong, then left the incense burner and left. The shop owner looked at them and sneered. Keep pretending. I've been in the antique business for 40 to 50 years. How dare you put on a show here? You've come to the wrong place. Qin Haodong didn't say anything. He really didn't want to deal with this kind of person. He had spent all the money in his pocket and wanted to leave with the censer. He didn't care, but it didn't mean that others didn't care about what had just happened. Someone in the crowd immediately shouted, Old man, didn't you just say that as long as someone bought this censer for 100,000 yuan, you would call him father? Now this young man has spent 180,000, hurry up and shout. Many people were dissatisfied with the rich and heartless boss of the shop, so they all chimed in. Come on, call me father. The shop owner stared at them and said, What are you shouting for? Don't you see that the three of them are a group? They are acting to fool us. I don't think he transferred a penny to buy the censer for 100,000 yuan. Qin Haodong had just met a group of donkey guides, and in the blink of an eye, he was called a liar by others, which made him very unhappy. He glanced at the shop owner and said, This is a big treasure. It's a big bargain for me to spend 180,000 yuan. You can't see that you are blind. The shop owner burst into laughter and tears were about to come out. I, Zhang Wankue, come from an antique family. I followed my grandfather to play antiques when I was 8 years old. I entered the antique business at the age of 20 and opened my own antique shop at the age of 30. I haven't met anything that can make me look down on it all these years. This is obviously a piece of iron and copper. How dare you say it is a treasure? Little guy, you are too young to play with me. Qin Haodong really didn't want to argue with him. He said, forget it. It's your business if you are blind. Anyway, I don't want a son like you. After that, he picked up the censer and was about to leave. Zhang Wankue was unhappy and said with a cold face, wait a minute. What else? Qin Haodong looked at him and said, obviously the three of you are a group. You came to my shop to play a two-man show. Zhang Wankue said, well, in order to let everyone see clearly, do you dare to make a bet with me? Qin Haodong immediately became interested when he heard the bet. No one could win a bet with him, the Emperor Green would. Tell me, how do you want to bet? Didn't you say that I was wrong? As long as you can prove that this censer is valuable, I lose. Not only will I fulfill my promise just now and call you father in public, but I will also let you choose any treasure in my shop. On the contrary, if you lose, you will pay me 10,000 yuan for mental damage. This old man was rich and heartless, and now he was aggressive, which aroused Qin Haodong's disgust. He said, we can bet, but you have no credibility at all. We must find a notary. Little brother, let me be the notary. As soon as he finished speaking, two middle-aged men squeezed in from outside the crowd. Qin Haodong knew the one walking in front was Chen Duo, whom he had just met a few days ago. Brother Qin, I didn't expect to see you again so soon. Chen Duo said and introduced the middle-aged man behind him to Qin Haodong. This is the director of the Jiangnan Antique Appraisal Center, Mr. Guofeng, an antique appraisal expert. Then he turned to Guofeng and said, this is the strange man I told you about, Qin Haodong, who I met a few days ago. Qin Haodong was not familiar with Guofeng, but many people in the crowd had already recognized him. I didn't expect Mr. Guo to come. Mr. Guo is an expert in antique appraisal. Of course, Mr. Guo is the first in our Jiangnan Antique Appraisal Circle. He often appears on TV. It could be seen that everyone recognized Guofeng very much. Zhang Wankue had been in the antique industry for many years. He was also very clear about Guofeng's status in the antique industry. He was a leading figure. He came over with a charming smile and said to Guofeng enthusiastically, Director Guo, why are you here? Guofeng nodded to him and said, I was just walking with my friends, and I happened to see you and this little brother making a bet. I'll be the notary for you. What do you think? Of course, Director Guo can be the notary, Zhang Wankue said with a flattering face. Guofeng was highly respected in the antique industry. He could make his antique shop close with one word and no one would do business with him anymore, so he couldn't afford to offend him. Qin Haodong nodded and said, I have no problem with that. Guofeng said, since both of you agree, then the bet is officially established. Brother Qin, now you show us how to prove that this incense burner is a treasure. He was an expert in the antique industry. Although he had only looked at it briefly, he had already seen most of the incense burner. His conclusion was the same as Zhang Wankue's. This was just an ordinary incense burner covered with iron and copper, not even an antique. Qin Haodong smiled and said to Zhang Wankue, do you have an iron hammer in your shop? Yes. Although he didn't know what Qin Haodong wanted a hammer for, Zhang Wankue still went back to the shop and took an iron hammer. Chen Duo asked, Brother Qin, what are you going to do? Qin Haodong smiled and said, try my luck. Maybe there is a treasure in this incense burner. Will this work? Chen Duo said in surprise. He had just checked it carefully. It was indeed an ordinary iron incense burner. There was nothing special about it. Just try it. I'll admit defeat. Qin Haodong said it casually, but in fact he was very sure. He took the iron hammer and began to hit the iron incense burner with his strong perception. His knocking didn't seem to be heavy, but in fact each knock carried internal strength. As he hit the iron incense burner, it cracked inch by inch. The onlookers were all stunned. Was this young man crazy? He had just spent 180,000 yuan on it, and now it was smashed into pieces. Was he really going to sell it as scrap iron? Zhang Wankue sneered and said, I've lived for 60 years, but I've never seen such a way to find treasures. It's really an eye-opener for me. Qin Haodong ignored his sarcasm. The iron hammer in his hand was getting faster and faster. After hitting the whole body of the incense burner, he threw the hammer on the ground and raised his hand to pat the side wall of the incense burner gently. With a clatter, the broken iron pieces fell to the ground. But what was surprising was that after the iron pieces fell, a milky white thing was revealed. It was still in the shape of an incense burner. Paraffin. This is paraffin. Many people around who knew what it was exclaimed. Guofeng's face changed and he blurted out, "It's probably an incense burner in it. It's the ancient way of hiding treasures. Brother Qin, you may have really picked up a treasure." Hearing Director Guo's words, the others immediately became restless. This young man is really lucky. It seems that he has really found a treasure. Young man, you have good eyesight. I didn't see that there was something inside this iron incense burner. It's over. This old guy Zhang Wankue is going to be embarrassed. Let's see how he calls his father. Zhang Wankue's face changed greatly, but it was too late to regret now. He could only continue to watch and pray in his heart that there was nothing in the paraffin, but it was obviously very unrealistic. After breaking the iron sheet, Qin Haodong reached out again and kept patting the outer wall of the paraffin, separating the paraffin from the thing wrapped inside with his internal force. He only knew that the spiritual qi of the thing in his hand was getting stronger, but he was not sure what it was. But according to the shape, it was probably another incense burner. The people around also looked at Qin Haodong nervously, and they were very eager to see what kind of treasure was in the paraffin. Soon, Qin Haodong finished patting the paraffin. He shook it skillfully with his hand, and the paraffin wrapped outside was broken. A copper incense burner with a simple and elegant appearance, yellow and red, and warm paste appeared in front of everyone. The outside of the incense burner was cast with a very delicate pattern, and there was no trace of rust all over it, exuding an attractive luster. Seeing such an incense burner, everyone was fascinated. Guofeng seemed to have lost his soul. He reached out and gently stroked the outer wall of the incense burner, murmuring, "Xuanda burner. It's really Xuanda burner." What? Xuanda burner. It turns out to be the legendary Xuanda burner. My God, this young man really picked up a treasure. Are you serious? How much can it be sold for if it's Xuanda burner? I really regret that I didn't buy it just now. It's a priceless treasure. Chapter 87. Among all the people present, Qin Haodong was the calmest one. He looked at Zhang Wankue and saw the old man's mouth was half open, and his eyes were blank, like a fool. After a long time, Zhang Wankue came to himself and raised his hand to slap himself twice. He had been in the antique circle for most of his life, so how could he not know the value of Xuanda censer? It was a good thing that he couldn't see even if he wanted to. But today he had offered it to him with both hands, and the price was only 100,000 yuan. He didn't even think about it. At this moment he really wanted to die. Looking at the shining Xuanda censer, he really wanted to grab it and hold it in his arms and make it his own. Looking at the people around him who had lost their manners, Qin Haodong came to Chen Duo and asked in a low voice with a little embarrassment, "Brother, what is Xuanda censer?" He did have more than 500 years of experience and had seen all kinds of treasures, but they were all from the cultivation circle. He didn't know much about the cultural inheritance on the earth, let alone what Xuanda censer was. Let me tell you. Guofeng heard Qin Haodong's question, stood up and said, "When Xuanda Emperor of the Ming dynasty wanted to make censer, he asked the royal craftsman to design and supervise a batch of censer according to the famous porcelain styles of Chai kiln, Ru kiln, Guan kiln, Gu kiln, Jun kiln, and Ding kiln in the imperial palace, and historical books such as archaeological map. To ensure the quality of the censer, the craftsman selected dozens of precious metals such as gold and silver, and carefully cast it with red copper for more than 10 times. The finished bronze censer was crystal clear and warm, and it was a treasure among handicrafts. So in a long period of history, Xuanda censer became the general name of bronze censer. However, Xuanda censer only cast 3,000 censer in 3 years and no more were produced. They were hidden deep in the Forbidden Palace, and ordinary people only knew their names but never saw them. Now, after hundreds of years of ups and downs, the real bronze censer cast in the 3rd year of Xuanda censer is extremely rare. Speaking of this, he was quite emotional. I have seen countless antiques in my life, but I have never seen the real Xuanda censer. Today I have the honor to see it and I have no regrets in my life. Director Guo, how much is Xuanda censer worth? Someone asked his own question, which was also what Qin Haodong wanted to know. Guofeng said, "The Xuanda censer is a priceless treasure, and the price is just a reference value. Last year, at an auction in Hong Kong, a Xuanda burner was sold for 25 million. Heavens, 25 million is enough for an ordinary person to live for several lifetimes. exchanging 180,000 for 25 million, this young man's luck is really good. I burn incense and pray to Buddha at home every day. Why don't I have such good luck? Everyone was talking about it. At this time, another person asked, Director Gua, do you think this incense burner could be a fake? That's possible. As soon as Guofeng finished his words, everyone's expression changed, but he continued, in order to make huge profits from the Ming dynasty's Xuanda era to the Republic of China, antique dealers have been imitating Xuanda furnaces. Even after the production of Xuanda censers stopped, some officials who were in charge of casting bronze censers called the original craftsmen to imitate Xuanda censers according to the drawings and processes of Xuanda censers. These carefully cast imitations can be compared with the real ones, and even experts can't distinguish them. So far, there are many Xuanda censers in the collections of major museums in China, but none of them can be recognized as the real one by many experts. How to identify the real and fake Xuanda censers has become one of the unsolved cases in the domestic archaeology circle. Another person asked, Director Gua, is this one real or fake? Guofeng looked at the censer and said, in my opinion, it should be the real one. And it doesn't matter whether it's real or fake. Such an exquisite thing, even if it's not made in the third year of Xuanda era, it must be an imitation made by those casting officials in the Ming dynasty. It's so perfect. He turned to Qin Haodong and said, Brother Qin, I like this censer very much. If you are willing to sell it, I can offer you 30 million. Then he looked at Qin Haodong nervously. Although the price of 30 million was not low, if Qin Haodong was also an antique lover, he would definitely not sell it. The price of this thing would rise a lot in a few years. 30 million. My God, it's 5 million more than the one in the Hong Kong auction. I'm so jealous. Later I'll find some iron censers and smash them to see if there's a Xuanda censer hidden in them. Okay, it's useless for me to keep it. If Director Guo likes it, you can take it. Although the Xuanda censer was expensive, Qin Haodong had seen many rare treasures in the cultivation world. A censer without any function could not arouse his interest. It was better to sell it for some money. Brother Qin, thank you so much. Brother, give me your account number. I'll pay for it now. Guofeng was overjoyed as if he had found a treasure. As if he was afraid that Qin Haodong would regret, he picked up his phone and transferred the money. Seeing that Qin Haodong had earned 30 million in such a short time, Zhang Wankuei's face looked worse than if his father had died. It was 30 million. He had never earned so much money in his life. It was sent to him, but he gave it to someone else. Seeing that the Xuanda censer had been taken, someone in the crowd shouted, Mr. Zhang, the little brother has found the treasure. Is it time for you to fulfill your promise? You won't go back on your words, will you? Dad, you're my real dad. Zhang Wankuei seemed to have changed instantly. He rushed to Qin Haodong with a flattering face and said, Dad, how did you know there was treasure in the iron censer? Can you teach me? As long as you can teach me, I'll call you Dad every day and take care of you when you're old and dead. Qin Haodong was speechless. This old guy changed too fast. Take care of me when I'm old and dead? How many years can you live? Are you cursing me to die early? But thinking about it, it was normal. For a black-hearted businessman like him who only had money in his eyes as long as there was profit, they would be used to calling him grandpa or ancestor, let alone father. They would not hesitate at all. For this kind of person, Qin Haodong really didn't care. He said, Mr. Zhang, you just said that as long as I win this bet, I can take anything in the store, right? Yes, I keep my word. You can take anything you want. Zhang Wankuei said with a smile. There was a reason why he was so forthright. First, the notary of the bet was Guofeng, the director of the Cultural Relics Appraisal Center. He couldn't afford to offend him. Second, he didn't have anything valuable in the store. The few good things he had were hidden very well, so he was not afraid of being found. Qin Haodong didn't pay attention to Zhang Wankuei anymore. He stepped into the antique store and looked around. He found that all the things in the store were fake. There was nothing valuable at all. With his powerful perception, he found that there was a faint spiritual qi behind the wall. But it was also very weak. He guessed that it was an antique with some years. But it was not enough to attract his attention. What should I take? Qin Haodong turned around and suddenly found that there was spiritual qi overflowing in a corner of the wall. The concentration of the spiritual qi was not lower than that of the Xuanda censer. He strode over and found a wooden box in the corner. It was filled with broken bottles and jars, some of which were already broken and incomplete. He looked down along the source of the spiritual qi and found a small iron piece the size of an egg at the bottom of the box. The spiritual qi was emitted from this thing. Good stuff. Qin Haodong held the small iron piece in his hand and was overjoyed. He was 10 times happier than when he got the Xuanda censer. Others might not know what it was, but he recognized it at a glance. It was a magic instrument for protection. A magic instrument for protection was equal to an extra life, which couldn't be bought with money. He sensed it with his primordial spirit. The level of this magic instrument was not bad. It was enough to resist 3 attacks from a cultivator in the gold core realm. It was absolutely a good treasure for him to save his life. It seemed that he came to the antique street today. First, he sold a Xuanda censer worth 30 million yuan. Now he found a good treasure for protection. The only regret was that he didn't find a suitable magic instrument. Zhang Wankue had been following Qin Haodong. Seeing Qin Haodong find a black iron piece from the box he threw away, he was very confused. Was it also a good thing? But he did see it. It was not an antique at all. He didn't understand why Qin Haodong took it. Mr. Zhang, I want it. Qin Haodong shook the small iron piece in front of Zhang Wankue. Then he put it in his pocket and stepped out of the antique shop. After walking out of the shop, he said goodbye to Chen Duoduo and Guofeng. Then he left and continued to look for magic instruments. He visited more than a dozen shops in succession, but still didn't find what he wanted. At this moment he suddenly heard a scream behind him. The scream was so miserable that many people looked at the source of the sound. Qin Haodong also looked back, but he saw nothing. Just when he looked back, he suddenly bumped into something. He quickly turned around and saw a young man with a flat-top head was knocked back 3 or 4 steps, and an ancient mirror fell to the ground. The flat-top head man was Fatty Wang's 3rd brother. He had been waiting outside the crowd for a long time. Seeing Qin Haodong get 30 million yuan in a blink of an eye, he was so jealous that he secretly swore that he must take advantage of Qin Haodong. After Qin Haodong left, Lao San had been following him. The one who screamed was also his accomplice. Lao San took advantage of this opportunity to blackmail Qin Haodong and bumped into him. My mirror, my precious mirror. Lao San's acting was not bad at all. He squatted on the ground to pick up the mirror and burst into tears. Qin Haodong had already known that this was a blackmailer. He thought to himself that there were so many tricks in this antique street. He had just walked around and unexpectedly met 2 groups of swindlers. However, he was not angry. He just quietly watched Lao San's performance. Not only him, but also the people who were wandering around immediately gathered around to see what was going on. Lao San cried for a long time. Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't speak, he immediately stood up and shouted fiercely, "Boy, you broke my precious mirror. You must pay for it." Qin Haodong said very cooperatively, "Oh, how much do you want?" Lao San cried, 30 million, not a penny less. Qin Haodong was amused by him. This guy must have just seen him sell the Xuanda censer, so he knew how much money he had. He laughed and said, "Is your mirror made of gold? Even if it's made of gold, it's not worth 30 million yuan. Lao San held the mirror in his hand and shouted righteously, "This mirror was used by Su Daji. It's much more valuable than gold. I wanted to sell it, but I didn't expect that you would break it." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.